All right. Hey, good morning. It's the Rise and Grind Morning Show. It's Monday. It's the Monday after, man. The playoff games. Lot of controversy this weekend. Or is it just a lack of football understanding? I think that there's both involved. We'll talk about both. And what am I talking about? We're talking about the interception, the Bears and the Bills, the interception that was and wasn't, and did it change the outcome of the game or did it not? Well, I think the refs started to change the outcome of the game of the Bears game, but we're going to talk about that. And Caleb Williams, man, the luck finally ran out. I've been telling you all season, if you're going to have a 58% completion percentage, if you're going to throw interceptions, I don't care what you do with your feet. I don't care how lucky you get. I don't care about the 50-yard bomb. And I'll explain all that when we get back. We've got a lot to talk about this morning. 50 free agents that may or may not intrigue the Lions. And we'll do a Bears-Rams recap, kind of talk about the rest of the games over the weekend. Be right back here in 17 seconds. I know you've been waiting long enough, but here we go.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
All right, let's get into it. Eric, man, how are you this morning? Outside of being frozen and
covered in snow.
Jesus, man, it is crazy cold. It was 5 degrees, minus 5 or 5 degrees in the studio this morning. Had no heat.
Yeah.
No nothing this morning to get me rolling, so we're a little bit late because of that. But anyway, how was your weekend?
Oh, great. It seems like every single day it snows 6 inches here. Every single day. It just does not stop. I hate living up here. I'm ready to go to Arizona. Oh, wish I was going to Tucson for a month, but I'm not doing it this year.
Soon, Salty, you can just eat it, man. 30 degrees in Florida. I wish. I would take that right now, Salty. I would take that.
They had 1 or 2 snowflakes in the top of Florida yesterday, and they're all freaking out.
Yeah. Well, you know,
you had to buy a jacket.
I've been in. Speaking of jackets, man. By the way, if you guys are by a Marshalls, I was at Marshalls the other day, and I was hunting down these Lions heated jackets. Got these big battery packs with the heated jacket, you know?
It's the one I have on.
Yeah, and it's the one that I was gonna get you at that Marshall's a while back. But these are like $300 jackets. And they were on sale at Marshall's for like $179, and now they're on sale for $89. So
I wish I had a Marshall's near me. I'd go buy another one.
Well, I mean, anytime I go, I'll just tell you what I see.
All right.
Yeah, trust me, it's cheaper to buy stuff there and ship it to you than it is to drive all the way down. But anyway, if you want one, now's the time to get one. This is a double X. It fits like an extra large. It's not very big. They don't have a ton of sizes available, and there's multiple Marshalls. You can call them all and see if they have them, but that is so cheap, man. Less than a third of the regular price is crazy. I just wish they had a smaller price so I could have got one for Megan because she gets more cold than I do.
So what did you think about the Calvin Johnson rule rearing its ugly head once again, where the refs can very much influence the game by saying the receiver's down by contact, or the defender took it away after the receiver did not complete the process of the catch?
It was almost deja vu, man. It was.
Yeah.
It
happened twice this week, or 3 times this week.
Well, yeah, at least twice. I mean, the Bears in the Broncos game, and I think that they're the Bears, Bills, Rams, Broncos. I'll say this: the first one that I watched, not yesterday. Was it yesterday that it was Broncos on yesterday?
It was Saturday.
No, Saturday. That one just. I still don't agree, because he was going to the ground. He caught the ball. He was going to the ground, and I thought that he would have been down by contact, like I said on Twitter, and that the ground couldn't cause a fumble. He had possession of the ball, and that ball did not pop out until he hit the ground. From all the angles that I saw, when he hit the ground, then the ball started to come out, and the DB ripped it away. However, there may be an argument that you could say he really never touched the ground completely as he was rolling. I didn't like the call. I think that's a call that they changed the game completely. And not only, I mean, the refs this weekend were great until the last quarter, typically. I thought they did a great job this weekend, and then the last couple of minutes of the Bears game, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But we'll get into that in a minute. The first one, Bills, Broncos, look, I think that he was down. I think that he was down. I don't think you can call that an interception. I think you need to call that a catch on the field, and then you need to go to replay and then try to overturn it. I think that's the best way to do it there, because there's no way that a ref could have saw or seen any of that happening in real time. There's no way. So, all
right,
what do you think?
So there's a few things to this. So the Calvin Johnson rule. Number one, you need to have control. The receiver must secure control of the ball before going to the ground. All right, he had that. Number two, you got to maintain control through the process of the catch. Even if the player goes to the ground, he must maintain control through the entire process. And that's where he did not do it. Okay, well, number three, no ground-induced movement.
Let's go through number two first before we get into three. When you go to the ground, that what they're talking about in that rule, the way that I understand it, is that you are a solo individual. You are not being tackled. You're going to the ground with the football. So you've caught the ball like Calvin Johnson. You've caught the ball. You're leaping into the end zone, whatever, that's another thing that I don't get. You can be a running back, run towards the end zone, jump through the end zone, lose the football, and they call it a touchdown. You can be a wide receiver, catch the ball, take one step, leap towards the end zone, lose the football. It's now a fumble, and they're bringing it back to the 20-yard line. How does that make any sense? The rules need to be the same. I get it. You're an established runner versus a wide receiver. I understand that. But when you're going to the ground, and the way that rule was defined is that the player is catching the ball, doesn't have anybody around him. You're going to the ground because you dove for the ball or whatever, right? You're going to the ground. And then if you hit the ground and the ball pops out, well, you didn't complete the process. I think the difference in this case is you were going to the ground in a contested catch situation, and once you hit the ground, you should have been down. Because otherwise, you can go look at probably 100 plays of this season, and you need to overturn a lot of catches, at least. And some more interceptions, probably. And I know there's a couple for the Lions that they didn't get. And there's matter of fact, there's a couple of plays just like this that happened to
Harper.
I wish I had the video. I should have went and grabbed that video and watched it.
This was the exact same play with Harper.
Similar.
Exactly
Similar. See, I think that the difference is with Harper, that receiver was not on the ground yet. He had no knee, no thigh, no elbow, no forearm, nothing touched the ground yet. He was ripping that ball out, and that ball was loose before he hit the ground. As the difference it was Cooks, right? It was Cooks that had the ball ripped out of its hands.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the ground with the ball, and then the ball was wrestled out as they were tumbling, is the way I read it. You answer it. You give me your thought. I got to do something with my dog real quick.
See, I'm on the other side of this. I think you have to maintain possession and you have to maintain control through the process of the catch, whether that's through a defender or the ground or anything. And then the ground, number 3, cannot induce movement. If the ball touches the ground, it cannot move or shift in a way that indicates a loss of control. In other words, the ground cannot cause the ball to come loose. Okay. So I think 1, he caught the ball. 2, he did not maintain control through the process of the catch. So all the way through the ground and the tackle, he did not maintain the process of the catch. And then number 4, completion of the catch. The catch is only complete when the receiver has clearly secured the ball and maintained control even as he hits the ground. So
Are you reading the NFL rule?
Yeah, so the rule was created to ensure consistency and fairness. It aims to prevent situations where a player seemingly makes a catch but loses control as he falls. Over the years, the rule has been refined and or reduced to reduce confusion and make it clearer when a catch is complete. So in my opinion, I think it was a turnover. No rooting for either team in it whatsoever. Just looking at it impartially, I think it was a turnover. Where I think the one in the Bears game, the guy had the ball, took 3, 4, 5 steps.
They already have 75.
His knees hit the ground, and then the ball was taken away. So that one's a little different. He was more established. He made a football move before his knees went to the ground, and then the ball was taken out. So that's why I think that one was a catch for the receiver. So what do you guys think in the chat? Do you think the Bills game, the one that ended the game basically, do you think that was a catch, or do you guys think that was an interception?
So I'm watching the play live.
Okay.
Cooks is in front of McMillan. No, I'm sorry. McMillan is in front. Hold on. McMillan is behind Cooks.
Yep.
The ball comes over top. All right. Cooks catches the ball. He goes to the ground. He should be down. His knee hit, his back hit, everything touched the ground. And as he rolled,
how many steps did he take with control of the ball?
1. You only need to make 1. So then it shouldn't have been a catch.
Yeah, it's either
right. It's not incomplete. It's not incomplete because the ball never touched the ground. So when he catches the ball, he catches it, goes to the ground in one motion. He took 1 step, goes to the ground. Hold on, let me finish. Knee down, rolls on his back, and as he's rolling over after he's already landed on his back, McMillan rips the ball out. That's a down player. You're down. If you're not down, tell me another way that you can be down. Because if you've caught the ball, you've landed on the ground. Here, let me go through it one more time. Here we go. Play by play. Catch. One, not even a step. He goes really straight to the ground. So catch.
And that's why.
Hold on. I got to finish. Hold on. Let me finish. He goes step. Right foot, left foot, knee, back, rolls all the way over, and McMillan rips it out when he's totally turned on the other side. I don't know how you couldn't be down in this situation. I really don't. It makes zero sense to me. Now, had there been no DB and that ball came flying out after he hit the ground, it would have been an incomplete pass. But if you're going to allow an interception here, then you have to call that a catch, and he has to be down. That's my opinion. I know we disagree, but what were you going to say now?
Just that, if he would have taken 2 or 3 steps, then I would have said yes. Then he was down, down by contact.
What do the steps have to do with being down?
Because you have to establish the catch or make a football move.
That's 2 different things, though. There's a difference between being down and then the process of the catch. 2 totally different things. 2 different subsets of the rules. So process of the catch is by yourself. But going down, you can catch the ball and you can toe tap and go out of bounds and you're down and then out. So you see how the rules kind of like extremely confusing. They've made it clear as mud so they can inject the refs into the game. Because if I were to catch that ball on the sideline, toe tap, toe drag swag, and I'm going out of bounds, well, that's a catch. I didn't make a move. I didn't take 2 steps. I didn't go towards the end zone. I didn't do anything. I just catch.
You can't lose the ball once you're out of bounds, though.
I get that, but he didn't lose the ball. He had the ball ripped from him. That's totally different.
Yeah, the other guy took it away.
But if you're on the ground, and that's like tackling Jahmyr Gibbs and then getting up and then ripping the ball away from him. Oh, I got a fumble. No, he was down. You can't take the ball from a down player, right? This is the problem. The NFL has a real problem. Eric, you and I have gone over this all season long for the Lions, man. What the hell's a catch?
If a normal fan can't get it, and every analyst, every announcer, every ref, nobody can get it, then there's a problem.
All right, so let me just address a couple of things in the chat. I think I was very clear. Laner X, appreciate you. Good morning. Says, you have to possess the ball if you're down. The ball is being ripped away before he is down. But he was down. He was completely down. He had foot, knee, hip, back, all down before that ball is ripped away. What other body part does he need down? That's what I don't understand. You know what? Here, we're just gonna throw it on the screen. Forget. I'll just have to trim it out later.
It's not even a Lions game, man.
I know, but still, it's like this shit burns me up because you can never figure out what a damn catch is anymore. And it's really ruined a lot of games. And if you're a betting individual, man, you've got to be hot. You know, you've really got to be pissed if this ruined your weekend.
So do you think it would be better if we just went back to letting the refs decide with no replay whatsoever?
Well, okay. And again, I think it should have been a catch. And then you allow the replay assist to, I don't even know if replay assist can overturn in this situation. I've forgotten the rule by now. I don't know what, because there's not a change of possession. So replay assist shouldn't really be involved in this play. But here we go. Here's the play.
And then the McDermott was super pissed because they didn't review it.
Okay, there's the catch. The DB's behind him. Okay,
but he hasn't established.
Right, 1 foot, 2 foot down. Now the ball comes out. That is the best angle that you probably did not see this weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, so he is 1 foot, 2 foot down. He is down right now. He is on his back. How else could he not be down?
But what if the ball's moving? We can't.
You can't see that. You can. That's the problem. That's why it has to be a catch. You can't tell me. You just said it. You can't see if the ball is moving, and you have to get. Hold on. Ty goes to the runner. Ty goes to the receiver too.
I don't have all the views. I have this one view that you're showing me. They have like 13, 14 cameras.
That ball is not moving. It is still in his hands. Now it comes out. Whoops. Now it comes out.
Yeah.
As he's turned totally on the other side. So I think it's a poor call. I think it should have been a catch. And honestly, I don't even think they reviewed it, did they? Because they went to a timeout for something, but I don't think they really reviewed it.
He took a timeout so they would review it because all reviews came because this was an overtime.
Well, hold on.
All reviews came from up top.
With a change of possession, it should have been replay assist.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me replay assist says that this is an interception, that's a problem. From my perspective.
Well, that's what was called on the field, and that is why I believe they let it go. I believe if they would have called it the other way on the field, it would have stood the other way.
All right, let me pull up this other one.
That's one of those. They don't want to step on the toes of the refs. They don't want to overturn it because they called it one way. So Nicholas says, remember the Terrion INT? I don't remember it.
Okay. So the fact, this is going to burn you up. The fact that they call that one a catch, or that one an interception, okay? This one should have been an interception then. Let's watch it. I'm just going to watch the tail end here. All right, ball's in the air. Our ball's in his hands. Knee is down. You are now down. Hip is down. Then the ball comes out. He's still moving. If you're going to... What the hell? If you're going to call the other one an interception, this had to be an interception because his knee is down, just like the other play.
Look how long he had the ball before.
This is slow motion.
Yeah, but even in full speed, he had it for.
Here you go. Here's the whole play. Ready? Down.
1, 2, 3. Then he pulls it out.
There's no 1, 2, 3. You're talking a second. Remember, this is slow motion, and even in slow motion, that wasn't a second. This is 5 seconds, 4 seconds. Right now, he caught the ball at 4 seconds, and that ball comes out. He's on the ground. It's 6 seconds, so it's 2 seconds max of time. By the time that ball was caught, he was down, and then it's pulled out within 2.5 seconds. All in. Even if it was 3 seconds, all in from the time that it was caught and ripped away, he was already down.
Well, I have to agree with the refs on both these calls.
That doesn't make sense because if you agree with the first one, you can't agree with this one.
Yeah, but I had to have the Patriots and the Rams win for my bet.
I get that, but you have to remove betting. You have to remove all subjective theory here. It has to be objective, and it has to be based on fact. And I'm sorry, I think that they got them both wrong. If you're going to get the first one wrong, you got them both wrong. Yeah, in my opinion.
I don't get it. I don't know what's a catch, what's not a catch. I have no clue.
It just thinking of all the crap that has gone on with the Lions and all the bad calls, and then you start to see this stuff. So let's turn our laser focus here onto the Bears-Rams game for a moment.
Okay.
I expected bad weather, tight game, a little bit more ground game, and these quarterbacks both put up the ball 42 times.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford he was throwing some bullets. He was throwing some good balls, but man, he was missing everything that was normally easy for him. If he completed half of those catches that he missed, they win by 20 easily in this game. The Rams were all over the Bears. All over them. And the Bears defense did come alive there in that, second half. But if Matthew Stafford completes 5 or 6 more passes, they put up at least 2 more scores. In this game, what I've been saying all year about Caleb Williams is that you can't have a 58% completion percentage, get lucky in 7 games, winning all these games in the last 2 minutes, and then say that quarterback is a great quarterback, and say that quarterback is so amazing. Like I hear all of these announcers drooling over this dude who next year I guarantee is going to be junk. You know, you've had 2 seasons in the league. You really haven't done anything different. Maybe you got a little bit more patient this year. Maybe you started to see the field a little bit better. But as I've said, and I'll die on this hill alone, I don't care. Ben Johnson and his get cute schemes are only going to last a couple of seasons. I'm going to give him next year at the very most, and by the year after that, he'll be figured out. So with Caleb Williams yesterday, he was not playing well at all. I mean, he threw a pick in the very early stages of the game, but I've seen this before. I've seen this before where it's 4th down, and instead of punting the ball in an area that you can't kick a field goal, they're almost throwing an intentional interception. Now, if you remember, even this last season for the Lions, might even have been the season before, where we've had a couple of 4th down interceptions, and you have Lions fans getting all irate over the fact that Jared Goff threw an interception on 4th and whatever, and you're at the 50-yard line, and then you really can't punt the ball, you know, whether it's weather related or it's field position, you know, whatever the case is, it's called a punt interception is what it is. You would rather throw that ball deep and have them intercepted at the 2-yard line, the 5-yard line, or even in the end zone, and then they only get it out to the 5 or the 10 or whatever. That's much better than trying to rely on a punt. So that is a smart call if Ben Johnson is calling that, but we don't know that. I've just seen it a few times this year with the Bears where they throw an interception that looks, they did it in the last playoff game, where it looks almost intentional. So if Ben's calling that, smart play. However, he threw an interception. So unless we know what we don't know, we don't know what we don't know. You start the game with an interception, not looking good. 3 interceptions in this game. He did throw 2 TDs, but I have to go back to the last quarter here. You're calling, the refs injected themselves in this game right away, where Caleb finally completes a pass downfield for like 20 yards, and they tack on an extra 15 on a late hit, which was definitely not a late hit. It was processed. You could even see that Jared Verse was trying to pull away when he hit him. Barely touches the dude, and he falls over like a China doll. And they throw a flag for personal foul, roughing the passer. So now it's half the distance to the goal from where they completed the catch. I'm sorry. I've seen it too many times, Eric, where a big play happens and the ref is like, oh, I got an opportunity. I can help this team. There goes the dirty laundry. I've seen it too many times. Now, that's tinfoil hat segment of the day. Mm-hmm. But if you keep seeing the same repeated process over and over and over, there's got to be something to it. There's too much coincidence that you happen to get all these penalties when a big play happens in the final moments of a game. Agree? Disagree? What did you think happened on that play where Jared Verse gets flagged for roughing the passer after Caleb Williams completed, that was let me go back. It was
that might have been one of the plays I was making some food. I don't remember that one.
You don't remember? Okay, so I believe it was their last score. So it's 4th quarter. And
yeah, I was probably making food.
Hold on. Maybe it was the play before, the series before. Yeah, here we go. It was the series before they scored. So had the Rams not held firm and had them go out on downs, the Bears were at the, come on. $27, I think. No, they had to be further back than that. They had to be. No, they're at the Rams 27. Excuse me. They're at the Rams 27, and he throws a 17-yard pass, and then Jared Verse is flagged for roughing the passer, which is half the distance to the goal. I don't know why ESPN says 5 yards. Enforced all the way to the LA 10. So maybe that's why, because they're at the 10-yard line. 17 minus 27 is 10, so that makes sense. And then the Rams stiffened up, and they didn't allow him to score. But that seemed like another perfect opportunity to allow the Bears to go in and tie this game up. Or better yet, they would have been able to tie the game up with that penalty and, bringing them to the 10-yard line. I can't believe you missed that play.
Well, I will say this. There's two things. Mathix in the chat says good, better, gone. I thought that was pretty funny. But number two, okay, and this has to do with Ben Johnson. The Bears went for it on 4th down 6 separate occasions. And on 3 of the occasions, they were in scoring position, and all they had to do was kick a field goal, and they win the game. I'll repeat that. If they kick one of those 3 field goals, instead of trying to go for it on 4th down and missing it in scoring position in the red zone, they win the game. The Bears easily could have won this game if Ben Johnson wouldn't have been so aggressive on 4th down.
Yeah, I think you're... I'm not trying to sound like a dick, but I think that this is a slippery slope, because we've done it with Dan Campbell, or we've heard it said about Dan Campbell. Every action has an equal or opposite reaction in the game of science and life. And just because you think that they could have kicked a field goal or should have kicked a field goal, you don't know what the next set of plays would have been for the Rams. It would have changed everything that they call. It would have changed how they operated, and they could have went down and scored a touchdown as opposed to maybe having to punt the ball.
Yeah.
And it would have changed their aggressive behavior or non-aggressive behavior. So that's why when I hear this, when we hear it all the time with Dan Campbell at him, being aggressive, and the Dan Gambles and how, Dan just kicked 3 field goals. Did you win the game?
Hey, there's a couple games I think that Dan Campbell went over the friggin' edge on it too.
Well, yeah, you absolutely did. But what I'm saying is there's no way to say that.
We easily could have won 3 more games this year just kicking field goals instead of trying to effing go for it on every 4th down from the 3-yard line. Just kick the friggin' field goal and we win the game.
Yeah, it's not that easy. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's just because the score is 20-17 and you lose and you're in field goal range 3 times and you go for it on 4th down and you miss, doesn't mean that everything changes to where you win the game by kicking a field goal.
Oh, I get it. But
that's what you're saying, though.
No.
And that's what a lot of fans say is all you had to do was kick a field goal, Dan. Well, okay, then what does the next possession do for that team? What do they do? Something totally different.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know. I mean, that's just the way life works.
Yeah, but they were 3 of 6 on 4th downs. And now one of the 4th downs they did score a touchdown on. And it's just, I feel they were a little too aggressive. I feel that being a little more Belichick versus a little more MCDC would have won that game for the Bears yesterday. And I think they would have, I really think they would have won it because, listen, the yardage,
you can't win it when you throw interceptions.
That favored that's what doomed them. What doomed them was 2 things. It was interceptions and failed 4th downs. That was the 2 things that killed the Bears yesterday. Caleb Williams threw 7 interceptions the entire season. And then he gets into the divisional round and he throws 3 of them. So he did not have the best of games yesterday. So I would put a lot of that loss on Mr. Caleb Williams.
100%. I mean, you can't throw interceptions and expect to win every game. So going back to the times that they win for it, let's break that down a little bit. So Bears throw an interception on their first possession. They get a touchdown on their second possession. They go 3 plays and out and punt on their third. They go 9 plays and finish on down. So let's look at that first fourth and go. They're at the Rams 32-yard line in extremely frigid weather with wind. 32, 42, 49-yard field goal outside in Chicago in -5+ degrees wind chill. That ball's hard as a rock. It ain't going nowhere. There ain't no way. A 52 is like a 62 in that kind of weather.
But there was not one missed field goal yesterday.
That doesn't mean anything. The point is, a 32 is like a 62. Or a 52 is like a 62 in that weather. So I think that was the right call to go for it, because you're unlikely to kick a field goal from 52 yards and have any sort of confidence that it's going to go in.
Santos made a 48-yarder.
Who?
Cairo Santos for the Bears. He made a 48-yarder.
And that was from the 29. And so that would have been a 29, 39, 46-yarder.
It says 48 on here.
Yeah, so maybe I don't know why they would back it up any further. You had 17 to the number. So I don't know why. I don't get it. It's 10 to the end zone and 7 back from the offensive line. It's 17 plus 29 is 46.
I always thought you had 18 to wherever the ball was.
Then it would be a 47.
Yeah, well, this says 48, and that's on the game recap.
So he made one that was 3 yards closer. Maybe they should have went for it, to your point. Maybe they should have went for the field goal, to your point. Okay, so then they go 9 plays and punt after that one field goal that you were just talking about. Then they throw an interception, and then they punt again on 6 plays and out. And then they go 12 plays and end on downs. But at this point, you're down by a touchdown. So 4th and goal at the Rams 2, they were just stuffed. So even if they kick a field goal there, and they kick that one field goal where, in the fourth and go, it's 17-16. It's 17-16, and then they get the ball back. They get a touchdown. Again, don't know that would have happened. Don't know that the Rams would have punted on 5 plays. So the game was tied at this point. But if they would have had the other 2 field goals, it would have been 24-17.
Yeah.
Right? No. 10, 16, 23. It would have been 23-17.
Yeah.
End of half. They get the ball back. He throws another interception. And in overtime, it is what it is. Field goal ends the game. 54-yard field goal by the Rams. So the Rams weren't scared to kick a field goal. If anyone should have been kicking some more field goals in this game, I don't know that the Rams really got close enough a whole lot. They really didn't. I think the Bears defense was pretty stiff, especially in that second half. But a lot of 3 plays and out, 6 plays and out, 4 plays and out. It was a tough game, man. Tough weather game. Maybe he just doesn't trust his kicker.
Yeah.
But I think that any coach in that situation, when you're down 7, and you got to take the weather into factor, and what your defense and offense have been doing thus far, it probably was the right call to go for it. And I think that maybe you look at the call, like, did you call a call that maybe you shouldn't have called? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I do like some of the 4th down, go for it stuff, but man, especially when it's a really tight game, and especially if it's in the playoffs, I say you get down into the red zone, kick the friggin' field goal.
Yeah, I think it's all specific to how the game's going. In this case, my biggest controversy of calls for Ben Johnson is when they're down 17-10 and they go 12 plays, 61 yards, and this is including the penalty that helped them get there, and they pass it on 4th down. I would have run either a naked boot and then passed it, or I would have run the ball. it's 2 yards, I would have run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wouldn't have thrown a 2-yard pass. It's really hard to pass down there. All right, let's talk about the Caleb Williams miracle pass.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit.
The miracle pass. Okay. I'm sorry. That first thing to me.
Amazing throw.
Amazing arm. Amazing arm. He has a great arm. We know that. He has a very strong arm. Caleb Williams does. On this play, he's got pressured immediately. The defensive ends and the defensive tackle are on him, right? They're chasing him back like 15, 20 yards from the line of scrimmage. Caleb turns and just wings it, right? He wings it. But what happened on this play, 2 holding calls up front that were not called, both in front of the ref. Had they just thrown a flag for holding, it doesn't matter. But had they not been held, Caleb is probably sacked, right? And then in the end zone, you have the push off. So there's at least 3 penalties on this play, all in front of refs, that should have negated the touchdown completely. If you're getting held at the line of scrimmage, which it was on the right side, I believe, of the defensive line, I forget who it was. I'll have to go back and find the play here. That play doesn't exist. And I've said this all year, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me. They'll say, what a beautiful throw, great arm, what an amazing quarterback. No. Like, can we look at this like from the perspective, just for a moment, get in my head with me for a moment, of, and maybe you don't believe in this, but if you are allowed to do something and it's illegal and you win because of it, is that right? Does that mean I'm a great player? Here's my analogy. I forget the dude that did all the bike races. They took steroids. What's the dude's name?
Lance Armstrong.
Lance Armstrong. So the dude takes a bunch of roids, wins a bunch of races all over the world for a decade or longer, Olympics, but he won by taking steroids. Does that mean that you're going to now wipe away all of those accolades and all of those wins, and or there's asterisk by all of it? Is he really the best athlete in the world now that you found out he took steroids to get there? The answer should be a definitive, no, he is not. He cheated. And had he not cheated, he wouldn't have won all of those races. But then again, we don't know because it's tainted. So in this case, it's a broad reach here, but at the same time, it makes sense. If a flag is dropped on the ground for any one of those 3 penalties, the pass doesn't happen. The touchdown is negated. It doesn't matter how great of a throw it was, because that throw only happened because 3 illegal things happened on that play that should have been called. And I've said the same thing about interceptions. I've said the same thing about completed passes for the Lions. That had you not interfered with Sam Laporta on the seam route, Jared Goff wouldn't have thrown that interception. If the flag was thrown when they interfered on Sam Laporta or interfered with Jameson Williams, the interception doesn't happen. And the Lions get the ball back, and they probably go down and score. Right? So that's the theory that I apply to everything. I try to look at this from the lens of, if it all happened without any penalties, beautiful play. Luck times 10. Huge luck involved in this play. I think Caleb was just winging it to wing it, just like he did the week before, and it fell right into the tight end's arms. In this case, he had a receiver that was open, but he got open by pushing off. So I'm not going to downplay his arm talent. I'm not. Caleb Williams has a great arm. But he just doesn't have accuracy to go with it on any other play.
Yeah. Well, he did throw 3 interceptions, but on that play, that actually absolutely made my jaw drop to the floor. He's moving backwards with 2 defenders in his face, 26.5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And he just throws it up for grabs and hits Cole Kmet in the back of the end zone. I could not believe it. I thought that ball was either being intercepted or going out of the end zone. I thought there's no way anyone's going to catch that ball. And listen, water finds its level, and it found its level in overtime when Caleb Williams threw the interception, and then the Rams went right down and scored the field goal.
There you go. You know, there's a certain individual that was on the field yesterday in this game that wears number 9, and his name is Matthew Stafford. I have watched all these fourth quarter comebacks. You remember Matthew Stafford led the league, I think, in history for the most fourth quarter comebacks?
For a long time, yeah.
Yeah, for a long time. And I've seen that dude do that exact same play, and you've got all these announcers just drooling all over this dude's jock strap. Like, this is nothing new. I've watched Drew Brees do it. I've watched Matthew Stafford do it. I've watched Aaron Rodgers do it to the Lions multiple times. But I've seen Matthew Stafford do it dozens of times. So this is not like the wheel has been invented all over again. It's been done time and time and time and time again. The difference is, and I guess the similarity is, I don't care how many fourth quarter comebacks you have, because how many Super Bowls did Stafford bring to Detroit? 0. So they didn't mean anything. Because you're getting lucky at the end of a game. Why? Is it because the refs installed themselves into the game plan? Did you get a couple of lucky bounces? Luck has a lot to do with it. But I think in this case, you've got refs that are trying to... I thought we're pretty clean in this game, outside of the Devontae Adams and the Caleb Williams touchdown there that we're talking about. I think that those are two plays that you want to look at with a bigger lens. But I thought in all games this weekend, I thought the refs were pretty good outside of a handful of games, or a handful of calls. Unfortunately, those big, huge calls or no calls won or lost games.
Yeah. You know what the Bears didn't do yesterday? The Bears didn't do well. They didn't win, but they didn't get the turnovers like they did in all the other games. That was how they were winning, and you had to know that eventually their defense wasn't going to have 3 interceptions or 3 fumble recoveries in every single game throughout the playoffs. It just wasn't going to happen. And this was the game where it just didn't happen. They weren't getting the turnovers like they did in all the other games.
Well, I mean, when you look at a couple of key metrics to kind of walk that out a little bit, Matthew Stafford, no touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yep.
Took 4 sacks on the day. Caleb Williams didn't take any sacks. But when you go up against a good quarterback, when you go up against a good team, when you go up against a good defense, when you go up against a good offense, doesn't matter. Like you said, water finds its level. That's such a great analogy, because I've been saying this about the Bears all year. You've been playing a shit schedule, and you got lucky, and you didn't beat any real teams. You have, 4 or 5 wins now against teams that have a winning record the entire season. But 2 of them happen to be from your division, the Packers and the Vikings. They really haven't beat anybody. So again, a 58% career season-long completion percentage for Caleb Williams against a lot of terrible defenses. And you finally played a decent one, and you throw 3 picks. I'm sorry, Caleb Williams is not it. It was a good ride. It was a good ride until the penny ran out at Meyer, and your horse is no longer moving, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're on the couch. See you in Cancun in a week. I do want to take a look at this touchdown one more time, but I'll do it later. Actually, no. I'm going to look at it. Hold on.
Which touchdown?
Caleb Williams touchdown here.
Oh, the 4th down miracle.
Yeah, this...
dude, it was an amazing play.
Amazing throw, but again, I
give Caleb his flowers on that play. He doesn't control whether there's a penalty thrown. He doesn't control what anybody else does on the field. But man, that kid, that was an amazing throw. But you can't have one amazing throw and then 15 bad plays. Like, look at Stroud, okay, for the Texans. He had 5 interceptions and 5 fumbles lost in the 2 playoff games, between the 2 playoff games that they played, the Texans. And the first one they won, the second one they lost to the Patriots. That's the first time in NFL history that a quarterback has had 5 interceptions and 5 fumbles lost in the playoffs. And CJ Stroud had this really great first year. His second year was horrible. And now his third year is kind of mediocre. He wasn't lighting it up this year. And I think that CJ Stroud and Caleb are kind of similar. Their arc is kind of similar, and they remind me of the same player. You can make this amazing play one play, but then can't replicate it. You know, you get what did I say in my text yesterday? You know, you get a 10-yard slant route. He can't hit the guy, but on a 50-yard bomb, he hits him. I don't understand how you can't hit the easy dink and dunk stuff, but you can make these amazing 4th down, 26.5 yards behind the line of scrimmage plays. It just boggles the mind that they can, you know, and it's not just Caleb Williams. It's CJ Stroud. It's a couple other quarterbacks in the league that do the exact same thing. They can make these amazing plays, but then the normal throws, they just can't hit them.
No. You know, it's something that I've been saying about the dude forever. You know, back when I did my very first mock draft about last year's draft, you guys remember if you remember, I know that there are certain people that were in this chat right now that were there when I said the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams, and that is going to be the wrong pick, that they needed to take Jayden Daniels. I did that in my very first mock draft. Had to be January probably of 2025 or 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that Jayden Daniels is going to be the best quarterback out of that draft. So the proof is there. The receipts are on the channel. And you can compare it to anyone you want. I was the only one saying that Caleb Williams was not the consensus number 1 for me. He wasn't. Now, it wasn't until my third mock draft, I think, that I said, okay, now that we're going to start to get pretty close, this is what's going to happen. They're going to take him, but Jayden Daniels will still be number 2. He'll be the best overall. I've never trusted Caleb Williams' tape. He was an interception machine at USC, turnover machine, terrible attitude. He's not it for me. Your talent is only going to get you so far. The difference between, you know, a guy like Matthew Stafford, known as a gunslinger that can, you know, go all over the field and make incredible plays, but never get you over the hump. The difference is he's a team player, and he's someone that you can trust. He's someone that's going to lead your team, and he just didn't get there because he didn't have enough players. You know, he didn't have enough. Hell, if he had our roster, he would have been winning Super Bowls. He just never had the right roster. And he went through multiple coaches, 3, 4, all coaches, and 5, 6 offensive coordinators, whatever it was. That's too much turnover. You give him consistency like he's had in LA, in Matthew Stafford can do some damn good, things for a team. And that's what we've watched. I mean, I think they're not going to win the Super Bowl this year, but it'll be close. It depends on how healthy they remain after the championship game. If they win, I think that they have a really good shot. Same thing I said about the 49ers this year. I said they're getting lucky. They're beating a bunch of bums. They're getting lucky. I said, but once they play some good teams, they're out. They get smoked. Smoked this weekend.
Yeah, that was the worst defeat for the entirety of the playoffs. 41-6. They didn't even score a touchdown. 2 field goals. That's it. Yeah, and everybody, for years has been talking about how Brock Purdy was so amazing compared to Jared Goff. Well, he was 15 of 27 for 140 yards, 1 interception, and 2 sacks. He did not do anything special. And Christian McCaffrey, he had 11 carries for 35 yards, a 3.2 yard average. he couldn't do anything. And then in the passing game, your leading receiver was Jake Tongas, and he had 59 yards. Then Christian McCaffrey had 39 yards. Did a little better through the air than he did on the ground. So, the 49ers just got walloped in this game. And the Seahawks, I'm going to tell you right now, the Seahawks are for real. The Seahawks are winning the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
Sure. There's no one's going to stop them. I don't care. That offense is amazing. They put up 41 points, and I'm going to tell you what, Sam Darnold only threw the ball 17 times for 124 yards and a touchdown with a passer rating of 110. Listen, this Seahawks team is for real. If they can keep this up for 2 more games, they win the Super Bowl. That's it, period.
Well, the difference in this game, it came down to the run game. Kenneth Walker, 19 rushes, 116 yards, 6.1 average. That Seahawks offensive line was making hay when they needed to make some hay. Yes. 3 touchdowns. I mean, what more can you ask for by a guy when Charbonnet goes out early? I'm not sure the extent of his injury still, but I mean, he was averaging 4 a play before he went out. But their run game, 175 yards on the ground this weekend, that's what won them the game. So I was just going back. I was looking at that Caleb Williams pass, and yeah, there was both outside defensive ends were being held for a long time. And if you watch the push off in the end zone, it's clear as day. And here's what I'm going to go back to: if you're going to call a push off on Amon-Ra St. Brown at the goal line, which was barely a push off, this was 10 times worse.
Whoa.
Full extension.
Hey, Will?
Yeah.
We have some absolute breaking news.
Uh-oh, hold on. I expected some action today. So the offensive coordinator finally get hired?
The Bills are moving on from Sean McDermott after their loss in the divisional round to the Broncos, per Ian Rappaport.
That's not the news I'm expecting today.
Wow.
So big news day here on Monday. Hold on.
I didn't see that coming.
Hold on. All right. So Monday today is like D-Day, man. It obviously with McDermott, it's the same thing with John Harbaugh. Perennial playoff contender, but you're just not able to get over the hump. And who's at fault? I think he's done a hell of a job in Buffalo. I think a lot of teams are going to want McDermott. He's going to get lit up like a Christmas tree today by his agent. His phone's going to be ringing off the hook.
Well, yeah, and only a couple of these teams have hired head coaches so far.
Yeah, so today is the big D-Day. So now that you're getting a lot closer to being able to have in-person interviews, Calvin Shepard will be having his first in-person interview today in Miami. So this has moved on from just what were they calling it? The Rooney Rule, the token interview. That's all he is. Yeah,
I'm tired of hearing that.
No,
that is not what it is.
Calvin Shepard is absolutely deserved of a head coaching position. I just think it's too early. I think that when you look at, I don't want to get too far off and away from the segment, but when you look at coaches from a different lens, there are some that are great offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. That's just what they are. And they go on to be head coaches, and they're not good head coaches. And they come back to being offensive coordinators. Jim Schwartz is one. And they're great at doing that. For Calvin, when you look at everything that he has, the motivation, the being able to lead men and being able to, talk to players in a different way that gets them not only motivated, but being able to explain things to them from a different level as a player. That's what makes him more intriguing as a head coach. I think that Kelvin Shepherd 1,000% will be a great head coach from the perspective of his everything other than being a defensive coordinator. I would never look at a head coach opportunity and say, well, you lost this game, or, you weren't great here. You collapsed in the second half, so you're never going to be a head coach. No, you can't blame everything that happened on a defense on the defensive coordinator. You have to look at the injuries. You have to look at all the parts and the pieces and what fell apart, what became unglued. But then look at what he was able to do. How was he able to hold it together? In a game where you didn't have any DBs, you get 3-4 guys off the street and you go in and pitch a great game. Those are the things that you have to look at and say, that's the kind of individual that I need making decisions. He might be a better CEO than he is an OC or a DC, right? If you're a better CEO like Dan Campbell, he's a better CEO than he is an offensive coordinator. You want him leading your team. You want him leading the organization as a head coach, not calling plays on Sunday. Same thing for Kelvin Shepherd. I think he's a good defensive coordinator. His first year was great and not so great. But overall, I think it was a pretty good first year for him. This next year, if he's still with us, I think it's going to be even better than it was. I mean, he was leading a top 5 defense for the first half of the season. And we didn't even have everybody back yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. I think that if we lose Kelvin Shepherd, that means for 2 years in a row, we would have to replace both our offensive and defensive coordinator. And who do we get? Because now you have a 10th job opening. So you still have 8 head coaching jobs open because the Atlanta Falcons hired Kevin Stefanski and the New York Jets, they hired John Harbaugh. Well, now you have 8 open, and this Bills opening, does Josh McDaniels, does he go down to the Bills now instead of becoming the Lions OC because that job opened up? Does he want to go work with another mobile quarterback that's a little better than Tua? That Bills job might be the best job now.
It could be. We'll see what happens with all of their we'll see it. We'll see what happens to all of their coaching staff. With that, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We're going to talk about 50 free agents that could possibly intrigue the Detroit Lions here, and then I've got a conversation here with Tom Pelissero coming up next. All right, so these top 50 free agents here by CBS, Garrett Podol. I'm going to run through this. Let me just fix this briefly here. I want to cut some of this off. I don't want the ads rolling in. I was trying to fix it while we were on break, but it was not letting me. There we go. That should be better. Some good names in here, Eric. What do you think?
Yeah. So these are his 50 top free agents. Who's number 1? Who's number 50? And I thought maybe we could go through this and look at each one and say yes or no. Should the Lions make an attempt to sign this person in free agency if they make it to free agency? Because you got to remember, just because they're a free agent doesn't mean that they won't sign back with their team before free agency starts.
Yeah, very true. Yes, very, very true. So even though the Lions have, a bunch of free agents, there's no telling on who's actually going to make it or not, which I think a lot of the Lions free agents are going to be testing free agency. I think a handful will get re-signed. And just because, they're not signed right now doesn't mean really a whole lot. When the new league year starts, I think that's when you're going to start hearing a few more names pop. But let's talk about George Pickens, man. He's only 24 years old. According to this, it says that George Pickens exceeded all expectations in his first season with Dallas. The Steelers gave up on him because of his public displays of frustration and then traded him to Dallas. Man, they could have really used him here in the playoffs, huh? For a third-round pick and a late-round pick swap. Pickens then erupted with career highs in nearly every receiving metric for the first Pro Bowl selection of his 4-year career and was named to the 2025 All-Pro second team. That's insane. The season that he had next to CeeDee Lamb, and I don't know CeeDee Lamb's stats. I don't know how he was affected by any of this. But I have 92 catches, 1,429 yards, 15.4 yards per catch, 9 TDs, 73 receiving first downs, and 13 catches of 25 plus yards. Sounds like that offensive coordinator knew how to use a talented wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I should have prepared. I mean, maybe we should start talking on Sundays, but I should have prepared a little graphic here for thumbs up or thumbs down. But let's just do that in the chat. So thumbs up, thumbs down. Use your emoticons or emojis, whatever the hell they're called, and let us know if you're thumbs up, thumbs down on Pickens and why. And if you're bringing Pickens in, who are you replacing? That's the question. So Pickens stats, who do you think, or what do you think, Eric?
Well, would we even have room? He's going to want top receiver money.
For sure.
Because he's mad that he didn't get a first team All-Pro, that he was second team All-Pro. And, this guy's been a Pro Bowler. So he is going to want some money. This is not going to be a cheap wide receiver. So for me, I'm going to say no. We just don't have the room for him financially or in our receiver room right now, especially for someone with all the baggage that comes with him.
Okay. Baggage, I think, is probably a good word. I don't know that he has. I don't know that he has matured himself.
But like for fantasy football, I draft him every year.
Yeah, there you go.
I think he's great for fantasy football. But as far as, do I want him on my team? I don't know if the Lions are quite ready yet for a diva-ish wide receiver.
Okay, let me push back on this a little bit.
Okay.
What are we lacking? When I look at teams around the league that are successful, players around the league that are successful, I think that there's a few buckets that you have to fill to be a successful football player. Number one, clearly you got to have the work ethic, right? You have to put the practice in. You have to be, able and willing to accept criticism. And there's a big difference between accepting, construction, criticism that is critical to your, field performance versus someone just being a Debbie Downer all the time about you, right? I think the criticism is great. I love it when I get criticism. So it helps you become a better player, better person. I don't know that he's willing to accept the criticism. However, Jameson Williams, okay season last year. I don't care about the stats. I care more about how they're empty stats. And I'm looking at how many first downs did J-Mo produce? How many 25 plus yard catches did he get? How many times was he used downfield? And I'm directly going to refer to another topic that we had on the sheet today, which is the J-Mo's. Well, you know what, Eric? Just tell us, what did J-Mo say over the weekend?
So J-Mo excuse me. J-Mo spoke to some reporters about his offseason goals this weekend. And he said, quote, "I want to get stronger for sure. That's my main goal. I want to get a little stronger, move around a little more frequently. When I go through traffic on routes, I'm getting pushed over. I just need to be able to hold my weight a little bit." The Lions listed Williams at 6'1", 182 pounds in 2025. The key for the 24-year-old will be putting on weight while maintaining his elite speed. With that elite speed, Williams has been among the leaders in yards per catch since entering the league in 2022. He averaged 17.2 yards per reception in 2025.
Okay. I'm going to give him an out on one thing. And that is, well, one, I remember, Eric, how you said, man, look at J-Mo. Look how much bigger he is. Look how much stronger he is.
He was this year from the year previous.
And I kept saying, I don't see it. Like, he looks more fit, I guess, more ripped up a little bit, but he didn't look bulkier to me. So I don't know what you were seeing.
It was his calves. He had toothpick calves before.
Yeah, he's always had those sprinter calves. You know, they got those real long, lean
toothpicks.
Yeah,
and now he's put on a little bit of muscle this year. Next year he's going to put on a little bit more. And you watch, man. J-Mo is set for a breakout season in 2026.
If he's in Detroit,
he'll be in Detroit. He ain't going nowhere.
Maybe. Here's the out that I'm going to give J-Mo. The condensed formations do not fit his play style. When you have condensed formations like that and you're having to fight through the linebackers and the nickel and the safety and the corner that's on you, you have to fight through all that traffic, just like he said, and he's getting knocked over, he's getting pushed off his route. And how many times did I do reviews and people in the chat were ripping me apart because, oh, you're just a J-Mo hater, you're a Hutch hater. No. I literally was breaking down the routes and saying, look, it's a lazy route. Sell the route. You got to be able to use your leverage. And he didn't. Why was he not doing that? Well, I think it falls back to the fact that he was getting pushed around. He's getting bumped off the line. He's having to fight through all these, stiff traffic there, with the linebackers and everything else. That is not a J-Mo style of an offense. This is my out for J-Mo. You have to get the dude out wide. He cannot be condensed in, lined up just outside the tight end or in the slot position. He needs to be out wide. I don't care if it's 10 feet, 10 yards off of the sideline. That's better than 20, 25 yards off the sideline. He needs to be out wide. And unless we bring in an offensive coordinator that is going to realize that and put him in a position to win, J-Mo is the wrong receiver for Detroit then. If you're going to go condensed formations, he will not help us win. And I'm not saying that because he's not, or I'm not saying that because he's a bad athlete. I'm not saying that because he's not a gifted athlete. He is. I'm saying that because you can't always fit a round peg in a square hole. And some receivers, if you go back to his days in Bama, he was put out wide, and Bryce Young was shotgun snap, go get it. That's what they did. Go get it. And he would run, and he would catch. That is what J-Mo was really good at. And when he came into the Lions, he had a very limited route tree. He got way more developed this year. but I believe it was putting him in a wrong situation to succeed. J-Mo can have great success, and he can get 1,500 plus yards a season if you just put him out wide and run him on four routes is really what he needs. 4 main routes, unless, you add in his decoy routes, but 4 main routes is all he really needs. So that's my out for J-Mo for this last season. I think that there is way more cream at the top for him, but you need an OC that understands that. Agree or disagree?
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that, but I really think J-Mo had over 1,100 yards. He had 7 touchdowns, and I think he was very underutilized. There was 3 or 4 games where 3 catches, no catches, because they weren't using him at all, especially when it was Johnny Morton running the offense. Those first 4 or 5 games, man, J-Mo was just gone, not there. So
here's his stats. Here's his stats through. Let's just take a look real quick. I think he had like one good game in like the first 7 weeks. So let me pull it up. Packers, 4 catches, 23 yards. Week 2, he had a great week against the Bears. 2 catches, 108. But still, 2 catches, 108. And wasn't that a 50 burger week for us that week? Or really close to it against the Bears?
52.
Yeah.
52.
Week 3 against the Ravens, 2 catches, 43 yards. Browns, 2 catches, 40 yards. Bengals, 1 catch, 9 yards. This next one, I wish he would have got 1 more yard because it's 6 for 66. Like, that is you should have known right then and there, and I think I said it when that happened. J-Mo's not going to have a good year. Needed 1 more yard, dude. Just call the NFL and say, take a yard away. And then the Bucs, 0 for 0.
0 for 0.
0 for 0. And then 4 for 66 again. He had 1 game in the first 8 weeks played over 100 yards.
Yeah.
And in week 9, he had 119.
Yep.
Or 9 weeks played. That is not J-Mo football. And the fact that he finished 11-17 on the season with 65 receptions is crazy. I mean, when Johnny Mo was exited, here's what happens. What week was that? 7-8, somewhere in there. 7-8.
It was after the Bucs game.
Yeah, after the Bucs game.
And
so
that might have been part of the reason that Johnny Mo was exited, is because he didn't use J-Mo at all.
No, he really wasn't. Was it the Bucs or the Vikings game?
It was after the Bucs game, because then we went on the bye, and then we came back from the bye and shit the bed.
Yeah, so I mean, just if you look at the second half of the season, it went from an average of, let's just call it 45 yards a game, probably, not even. Oh, hold on. I'm just going to do it because we're all about facts here. So I'm not going to spit bullshit. Excuse my language today. It's one of those days for me, man. Like, I was having a coronary last night watching that Bears game.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. I was pretty worked up at the end of that game, but I was worked up because my 4-game parlay where I picked all the playoff games correctly almost went the other way with the friggin' Bears at the very last. I thought I had it in the bag. All my money was going to be in my account. And then Caleb Williams makes that play into the back of the end zone. So
I was close. It was 44.38 yards. So I was 0.62 off. So 45 yards a game average. And then in the second half, 119, 88. He had a 0 burger against the Giants. 144, 96, 134, 70, 37, 74. So he got really good in probably the third quarter of the season, if you will. Yeah. Like the third quarter, he did really well, and then he started to trail off a little bit more. I think the Vikings just had a good plan. Obviously, in both games, they had a really good plan for him. But again, it's these condensed formations. And you start the season that way. And I promise you we're not going to do this with every pick. It's just him because this fits perfectly. So does George Pickens fit in Detroit? Look, unless you're getting rid of JMO, the answer is no. You can't afford to pay JMO and a third wide receiver big money. So unless he's gone, Pickens doesn't fit. Now, do I like Pickens' body size better? Yep, I do. I like Pickens' body size a whole lot better, but that doesn't mean that JMO can't. Look, JMO's not going to add 30 pounds of muscle. He's just not. He can't.
All right. So getting to number 2 on our list, this one's going to be very, very controversial for all the people in the chat that wanted this guy for the last 2 years. And it's Cincinnati Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson. He's 31 years old. He's got 4 Pro Bowls. Count them, 4. He has 1 first team All-Pro in 2024. And Hendrickson and the Bengals likely should have parted ways last offseason after a failed contract extension, and following him producing 17.5 sacks in both 23 and 24. He led the league in 24, but the divorce is likely happening now. He underwent core muscle surgery that cut his 2025 season short after 7 games. But he's been one of the best pass rushers in football since becoming a Bengal. Hendrickson is only the 5th player since sacks became an official individual tracked statistic in 1982 to produce 17 plus sacks in consecutive seasons. He wins with phenomenal usage of his hands in tandem with great bend off the line of scrimmage, 2 elements that could age nicely even after the core muscle surgery procedure. Hendrickson could land a multi-year deal with an average per year salary around $30 million over the next 2 or 3 seasons. And $30 million was that number that he was trying to get from the Bengals. And then everybody else started signing for way more than $30 million. The Bengals could have had this guy locked up for quite a long time.
And they could have had 2 first-round picks the season before.
Oh yeah. The Lions probably would have gave him a whole bunch.
No, I doubt it. I mean, if they were on the board at all, it would have been done. That's just how Brad works.
When Hutch first went down, I guarantee he was offering something for Hendrickson.
Oh, I'm sure that there was a conversation, but the fact that the Bengals turned down 2 first-round picks, and now this dude is core muscle is not easy. Not easy. So who knows how good of a season or bad of a season he's going to have. And then he's going to be 32. He's the same age as AQM, pretty close. They're like almost identical in age. So how much are you willing to pay a guy like this who's been dominant every year? This last year, not so great. Right? Not so great.
Yeah. And most likely you're going to want to bring him in on a 1-year deal. Being that old, coming off of surgery, you're probably going to want to do a 1-year deal, not a multi-year deal.
Yeah, what do I call those? What's the Rockhound Detroit Lions term for the 1-year deal?
It.
No. Come on, you know what it is.
I don't know.
The Contender deal. That's what I call them. I try not to do the same old like everybody else. We call them Contender deals in Detroit because we're a contender. We're not prove it deals. We ain't proving squat no more. Yeah, we're trying to make it, right? We're not trying to fake it.
Then you don't. If you sign Hendrickson to a 1-year deal, you're going to try to get that Super Bowl ring. Then you don't have to draft one. That opens up the draft where you can go after offensive linemen.
So, according to the chat, right now we've got 15 votes, thumb down so far.
Really?
And
wow.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised
with all the hype that Hendrickson got for 3 years. To come to Detroit, $30 million. We'll take it. We went over it the other day. The Lions could end up with we could easily put a $30 million under our cap. We could sign them
easily. We can make $140 million rain in Detroit if we need to.
Exactly.
As long as the players are willing to do it and their contract allows it. So in the chat, we've got might be cheaper coming off of an injury, but nah. Or we have not for $30 million a year, no on Trey. So we're out on Davenport. Ha ha ha. No on Hendrickson. That trade would these are free agents, but that trade would seriously flush all of our cap space and all of our future picks. So yeah, no picks involved in this one. These are free agents.
No, he's a free agent, man. It's not going to cost us anything but a little bit of money.
Yep, a little bit. Well, a whole lot of money, probably.
I can't believe every single person on here is saying no to Trey Hendrickson.
You know I can, and you know why, Eric?
I would take a chance on him now that he's a free agent coming off of a surgery. Why not? We don't need another young guy to pair next on the other side of Hutch.
Oh, we do. We do because my roster roulette says so, even though it's still proving itself out. Here's the thing. The reason why they're saying no, or a lot of them are saying no, Eric, is because we have adults in the room. They know what the hell they're talking about. That's why. We have people that know football in this chat. That's why.
I have to be the opposite guy once in a while. Come on. I want Trey Hendrickson. Go get him, Brad.
It's all good. It's all good. Okay. The next guy up we'll do the next two real quick. Daniel Jones, no. Injured, don't need him.
He'll go back to the Colts.
Jaylen Phillips. So this was a name that a lot of Lions fans were trying to tie their boat to. And he had a decent season for the Eagles. It doesn't list his stats. Eric, if you wouldn't mind pulling up like a stat sheet, and you can just drop the names in as I'm going through a name, and then I'll pull up the stats when you're going through a name. So Jaylen Phillips, age 26, no Pro Bowls, no first team All Pros, came into his own in 25, especially since he joined the Philadelphia Eagles in week 10 at the trade deadline. The Eagles acquired him for a first round pick in exchange for a third round pick.
A first?
Yeah, and he finished the year with 73 quarterback pressures, tied for the 9th most in the NFL. Phillips, 41 pressures from weeks 10 through 18, with the Eagles ranked as the 6th most in the league the second half of the season. It would be shocking to see if the Eagles general manager, Howie Roseman, let a talent like Phillips out of the building, but he could continue to blossom into one of the NFL's best edge rushers as he continues to stay healthy. I'm going to side with whoever wrote this. I think Jaylen Phillips is going to stay in Philly. But I got to say this about Philly. I feel a major shakeup coming in Philly. I'm going to save this for another day or video.
Yep.
God, I just need to get back to doing videos. I heard a couple of things. Whether they come through or not, we'll find out soon enough over the next couple of months. Major shakeup in Philly coming. I'm just going to leave it at that. And let's just say it could involve a quarterback. Could. So
Jaylen Phillips for the Eagles in 2025 had 14 tackles, 2 sacks.
Say that one more time.
14 tackles, 2 sacks.
That's what he had in Philly or all season?
That was his 2025 season with the Eagles. With the Dolphins, he had 15 tackles, 3 sacks.
So 5 sacks all season?
So on the season, he's got 29 tackles, 5 sacks. That's not a lot of production in my eyes.
It's not, but I think I have to say this. It all depends on what that player's doing. I think I just spelled his name wrong. I did. Yeah. It all depends on what that player is doing for the guys around you. You know, we talk about this, that some players just don't end up on the stat sheet. They don't.
Yeah.
And it's very simple. Like, you're helping the guy next to you, whether it's left or right or behind you. If you're helping those guys win, it doesn't really matter. I see Jaylen Phillips more of that 3-4 outside linebacker. Mm-hmm. I always have, and I think that's his best fit, and I think that's how Philly used him. So I think he stays there. He's in the Vic Fangio defense. As long as Vic Fangio stays there, again, we could have a major shakeup coming. But they primarily use a base 3-4 front in Philly, and that fits him well. It just doesn't fit in the 4-3. It doesn't. It's the size. Everything is different. You're asked to do way different things. I just don't see it. Now, could he be our will linebacker? Possibly. but not an edge. I think you could have him as the replacement for Alex Anzalone, but what's his coverage like? That's the only thing I don't know what his coverage is like, honestly.
Yeah.
Let me just take a quick peek. He's 6'5", 263, so he's a giant. He'd be a giant linebacker.
I voted no on that one. I didn't want him when everybody was wanting him from the Dolphins, and I thought that the Eagles way overpaid for him.
Oh, they did. So let's talk about that for a moment. A first and a third swap. Are you kidding me? They basically gave him, kind of second round value there. If you take a first and a third and you throw it up and it spits out a 2, that's what they got. But you gave up a
swap first.
They gave a first for a third. They got a third back in Jaylen Phillips and gave up a first round pick.
Wow.
And I don't know if it was a future, like is it 26 or is it 27? I don't remember. I do not remember. But
expensive.
Hold on a sec. Hold on. So in reading this, it says the Eagles acquired the 2021 first round pick. No, they must be way off here. That 21 must be it's probably a 7.
No, Jaylen Phillips was a 2021 first.
Oh yeah, I'm reading it backwards. Hold on. I read it backwards. The Eagles acquired the 2021 first round pick in exchange for a third. They gave up a third. They didn't give up a first.
Oh, okay.
I read that totally wrong. Okay, next player.
Baltimore Ravens center Tyler Linderbaum. This is the one everyone wants. I know we're going to get all thumbs up for this guy. He's 25. He's got 3 Pro Bowls already. No all-pro teams, though. Linderbaum, one of the NFL's best centers, is primed to hit the open market this offseason. Pro Football Focus assessed Linderbaum as a 79.8 offensive grade, the 5th best in the league among centers. His ability to climb the second level of the defense because of his balance, speed, and quickness shines on tape. Linderbaum also thrives mowing down non-linemen in space as a blocker on screen passes, something the Lions love to do. The reason he is set to become available is because the Ravens, for some odd reason, declined his 5th-year option, as it would have made him the highest paid center in the NFL. Baltimore could retain Linderbaum this offseason, but he'll have plenty of suitors if they don't, including the Detroit Lions. A no-brainer.
Tyler Linderbaum. Hold on here. Let me get out of this screen. So Tyler Linderbaum is intriguing to me, and I think that now that John Harbaugh is gone, that opens up a window. Because anytime you have regime change, it comes with the players that you want. I can't remember here. Did Baltimore get rid of their GM? Do you remember?
No, it was just the coach.
Just Harbaugh.
Yeah.
So the GM might want to keep Linderbaum, but typically when you bring in a coach, they have full autonomy over the roster for the most part. Depending on the relationship, I know that a big part of Harbaugh's deal in Baltimore is that he had more roster control, which is what he was looking for in New York as well. I'm just going to assume that the next coach is going to want roster control. And if they do, I don't know that you really want to walk away from a center this good, because that is a stabilizing piece to your offensive line. Really hard to replace, but at the same time, I'm 50-50 on whether this opens up a door that Linderbaum could hit free agency. I think without a doubt, they might allow him to test it a little bit. But then again, if you allow him to test, I think teams are going to pay. And pay a lot.
Yeah.
You could franchise him, and that is a player that you could franchise. And that would make a lot of sense. So they could franchise tag him, and we'll see where that goes. I wouldn't be opposed to Tyler Linderbaum at all. But the money has to be right. And I think that gives you an immediate upgrade on the offensive line that needs some major help. And then you can spend more of your focus on the draft at other positions. What do you think?
It'll be interesting to see what the tag would be, how much they would have to pay on a tag. Because the reason they didn't give him a 5th-year option, because he would have made the most for a center. And I don't know what that is. I think it was like $25 million.
Say that again, the last part there.
So what his 5th-year option would have been versus the tag, if it's the same amount, a different amount. I don't know what those two amounts are. So
here's the thing. Franchise tag is super high for on the offensive line this year. It's like $27 million.
Okay. And
that's a ton.
Yeah, and I think that his 5th-year option would have been $25 million. So I don't see how the Ravens keep him. I don't see it. I think he hits free agency.
Okay, so if we go to 23, 24, 25, so we'd be in the 2023 season, looking at 5th-year options. Tyler Linderbaum, 23,402. So they screwed up. They should have 5th-yeared him at 23,402. Now, again, a lot of people don't like it when I say certain things, but when I kept telling everyone, I expected Tyler Linderbaum to be north of that 23 number. Here's where it works for me. The 5th-year option is 23,402. So that is the average number for centers right now. The offensive line franchise tag is 27. Meet in the middle. 25 million. That's how I got to my number. I probably shouldn't be telling you all this because, some people probably use this to start getting a lot of stuff right. It's usually pretty close, especially when you look at some of the most recent deals, on the market. That I think the highest paid center right now is about $18 million per year. And then you look at the 2 most recent increases over the last 2 years, and this year, you're talking 10% plus. Now, the last deals that were signed for centers, center salary. Center salaries right now, Creed Humphrey is $18 million a year. Cam Jurgens was 17. Drew Dahlman got stolen for 14. They all signed above age 27. Linderbaum is 24 years old.
Yep. And then let's say the Lions are able to sign him. Do they sign him to a 3, a 4, or a 5-year deal?
It'll be a 3, most likely, because the player's so young, he's not going to want to miss out on another max deal. So if you sign at age 24 and you sign a 4-year deal, then you're 28 years old by the next contract. If you sign a 3, you're 27. You're still going to get another max deal. So Creed Humphrey signed his deal in 2024. And so that was right before that huge increase of 25. So you add 10% to that number, and then you're going to add at least another 10% this year. So that number grows to what? 22 million? And then you have to factor in franchise tag and 5th-year option, and that's where I get north of 22, probably 25.
Attila says that 4 for $80 is what Baltimore reported to have offered him before the season. So that'd be $20 million per.
There you go. I don't know where that came from. Do you know who reported that?
I don't know. Attila said it in the chat.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know who reported that so I could go and vet it out. But let's say that that's all realistic, which I would expect Attila's given us good information. Again, I think that lends to the credibility of the number that I'm giving everyone.
Yeah.
North of 22, most likely 25.
And Art Vandelay says the Ravens are also taking a $70 million plus cap hit on Lamar this season.
That was a Baltimore report. Do you know which one, Attila? I haven't looked, so I don't know. Like, I haven't gotten that far into my free agency yet.
Yeah.
Oh. So anyway, there you go. If it's 4 for 20 and he said no, and the league's going up 10%, add at least $2 million to it. So it's 22 minimum.
Yeah.
You know, so that, again, north of 22, probably 25.
And he probably didn't want 4, he probably wanted 3.
Exactly. You want 3 years, you want more money guaranteed, and it is what it is. So I'm up on Tyler Linderbaum. I think it's money well spent. I think it, you know, as much as I would love to get a center in the draft because of the money reasons, maybe you take a swing on two left tackle / guards in the draft, or you still get another center and they could be a guard, which I've been saying since day one. Well, 2022, 23. Get a guard, center combo. Get a center that can be a guard, is what I really meant to say. Because that way you always have the flexibility of being able to go back, especially if that center gets injured. I don't want some 7th round, 6th round UDFA center as our backup. Yeah. Spend the money, spend the draft pick, get in early. Maybe it's that Lou kid that's going to slip to, you know, at least the 3rd, if not the 4th round right now. If he slips to the 4th, yeah, you might be a wasted pick to a lot of Lions fans. Why did we take another project? Because you're taking maybe the 2nd best, could even be the 1st best center in the draft. Had he not been injured, maybe he could have been 1st, but Slaughter's definitely number 1, and right now he's number 2. And if it takes him a year to get healthy, and then your center goes down, if Linderbaum goes down, then Brad's going to look like the smartest dude in the room. So that's what I would do. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, it's going to take us 3 shows to get through this list of 50.
Well, there's a couple of picks that we had to talk about. Linderbaum being one, the JMO thing being the other. Mm-hmm. What I want to transition to, we'll take a break from this. I do want to get to D-Day here. Tom Pelissero and Rich Eisen on D-Day.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, and we can make this list, throughout a bunch of days. It doesn't have to be all today.
Yeah, that's fine. Here we go. Oh, hey, let me add some volume. That'd be helpful.
How do you see this playing out? Do the head coaching gigs need to be filled first? Or is there going to be somebody who's also talking about a head coaching job saying, you know what, I kind of dig this OC gig more, and they're going to jump in and turn down a head coaching job? What's the timing on all of this for the Lions fans and the Chargers fans? All of them were wondering who their next offensive coordinator is going to be, just as an example.
It's a great point, because I honestly have had multiple conversations today with coaches in the NFL, some of whom are on lame duck staffs. Remember, over a quarter of the league fired their head coach. So you currently have 9 staffs. Some of the owners have given those people permission to interview for other jobs.
Right.
Other owners, GMs, have said, we're holding on to you until we get the next guy. We're not just going to let our staff get raided. So people start to get antsy. But it is January 16th. We can't even do the in-person interviews with currently employed coaches until Monday. And so what I've been telling everyone is just exercise some patience here, because you're talking about the OC jobs that are open, Rich. So we've got Tampa, Detroit, the Chargers, the Eagles. The Chiefs don't have Matt Nagy under contract. The Commanders already hired David Blau, promoted him from within.
Listen
and
closely.
That's because Detroit was willing to hire Blau, who used to be a quarterback there. So that's 6. You have 9 staffs, that's 15. You can count on 2, 3, 4 offensive coordinators getting jobs. Now, all of a sudden, you're talking about 17 to 19 new offensive coordinators in 2026. There is so much movement that needs to take place. And one thing that you're seeing, this has become more commonplace in recent years, is teams conducting head coaching interviews with candidates that realistically are probably more likely to be offensive or defensive coordinator candidates. Take Tennessee, who now, I believe, as of the end of this weekend, will have interviewed like 18 candidates, 13 or 14 of which are former NFL, or in the case of Jeff Hafley, college head coaches. So it's very clear they are prioritizing experience. They want people who've done it. Is Brian Daboll really going to be the head coach of the Tennessee Titans? Is Jonathan Gannon going to be the head coach of the Tennessee Titans? In both cases, with respect to those guys, I would say probably not, but they certainly, in Daboll's case, could be the OC, and Gannon is going to be a hot defensive coordinator candidate. Mike McDaniel is interviewing. He's interviewed for 4 head coaching jobs so far. I believe there's going to be a 5th interview for Mike McDaniel. He simultaneously is interviewed for the Lions offensive coordinator job, and I believe that between the Eagles, the Bucks, the Chargers, there's a bunch of teams that would like to hire Mike as their OC as well. So those decisions you're talking to are real things that need to be worked through here. But because there are so many OC jobs out there, and there are so many of the candidates for those jobs that also are interviewing for head coaching jobs, the coordinator jobs are probably going to fill a little bit more slowly. In other words, a Mike McDaniel is going to want to know he doesn't have a head coaching opportunity before he just goes and jumps and takes, let's say, the Lions offensive coordinator job. These are all moving parts, Rich. There are, of course, issues under the Rooney Rule in terms of qualifying interviews that need to take place before you can hire. The only 3 teams that, as of today, can hire their head coaches are the Giants, the Titans, and the Falcons. Those teams are in position to move swiftly as we get through this weekend and into the start of next week. But a lot of teams have an interest in at least speaking to some of those candidates that, by rule, if you are employed by an NFL team, you can't interview until this coming Monday. They at least want to go through that portion of the process. I believe that you will see the hires really pick up, probably not Monday, but as we get into the middle to end of next week, you could see a bunch of these vacancies fill.
Hey, you made it all the way.
Well, there you go. So today's kind of D-Day. It's D-Day for teams that are now able to interview in person, at least this portion. I mean, I'm not going to go rehash everything that he just said, but that makes a lot of sense as to why, fans are feeling like, why are the Lions dragging their feet? Why didn't they hire Mike McDaniel? And Or if anyone's out there saying that, oh, I know, and I've heard that there's been conversations, Mike McDaniel's coming to Detroit. No, you haven't. That's a lie. It's clickbait. He's going to go interview for at least 5 jobs. I think he's already had 4 interviews done, if I remember what Pelissero just said. And he's going to continue to interview until he's either exhausted everything or he's been offered a job as a head coach. Depending on which head coaching job it is, he may not accept it. And the thing about McDaniel is this simple. If he's not excited about the head coaching job, he might revert back to being an offensive coordinator. I firmly feel that's a 1-year gig. There'll be 3-4 jobs open next year, most likely. One of them may be intriguing. Now, if you look around the league, which I don't have this prepared, but if you look around the league right now, what teams need coaching? You've got it, right, Eric? Which teams need head coaches?
Yep. And then you throw a monkey wrench in this morning by bringing in the Bills job.
Right. That's a great fit for a guy like Mike McDaniel.
Exactly.
It has everything that he needs, starting with Josh Allen.
So I can tell you right now, McDaniels is probably number 1 on their list.
Oh, for sure.
And so far, only 2 coaches have been hired, and that's Kevin Stefanski and John Harbaugh. Kevin Stefanski went to the Atlanta Falcons on Saturday, and then on Sunday, head coach John Harbaugh was announced for the Giants. And then for GMs, you have Eric Sullivan, John Eric Sullivan. He was from the Packers. He was hired as the general manager in Miami, and now Hafley for the Packers is the leading candidate for that job. And that's also the same job that Kelvin Shepard interviewed for.
Yeah, hold on one sec. So not the Packers. You're talking about for Miami, right?
Yep, for Miami. Yep.
Yeah, so the teams that still have head coaching vacancies is the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Ravens, the Browns, the Dolphins, the Raiders, the Steelers, the Titans. And you can remove the Giants and
The Falcons.
The Falcons. So I don't know why I said the Falcons, but you can remove the Giants and the Falcons. Like I said, Stefanski was going to be a head coach. There was no freaking way he was coming to Detroit.
Yeah.
And same thing with John Harbaugh. So McDaniel's probably going to end up in Buffalo. And if he doesn't, I would say if there's a venue that makes more sense than it doesn't, man, the Las Vegas Raiders is an intriguing option that requires build. You have a great running back. You have good ownership. You have Tom Brady as an outlet. Mike McDaniel could love that opportunity. It's warm weather. Moving from warm weather to warm weather probably excites him. I think that the Vegas Raiders job and the Buffalo Bills are at the top of his list. The Cardinals, I don't see it. I think they're a dumpster fire. They need a ton of work. The Browns, dumpster fire. They need a lot. And they got intriguing defense, got half the unit. You've got an intriguing quarterback. If you roll with Shedeur Sanders, you got good backup with Gabriel. It's intriguing, but I don't see him going to the doo-doo Browns. The Steelers, probably one of the best organizations to work for. Interesting. I'll leave it at that. I don't see it. I see the Raiders, and I see the Bills as the landing spot for McDaniel right now.
Yeah, and with Pittsburgh, their first interviews were defensive guys.
Oh yeah, they've always gone defense.
They've always had a defensive-minded coach. So I don't see the Steelers going after someone like McDaniels.
It's crazy. What do you say? 17 or 18 coordinator positions?
Yeah. Up to 19.
That's half the league.
Yeah. Over half the league. If we get to 19, that's over half the league. And then you're going to have some.
Half the league is 16.
Yeah, but he said you could have 19 because you might have 2 or 3 of these OCs that go on to be head coaches, and then those positions are open. So you have OC jobs for all these head coaching positions that could make even more OC openings.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one crazy. The 10 is the most head coaching jobs there's ever been in a season in the NFL. This is absolutely crazy. A third of the league fired their coaches this year. 30% of the league has brand new everything.
Yeah, it's nuts. So I guess when you look around, I was trying to find the full name. I was trying to find all of the coordinators that are available because honestly, when I look around what is available right now, I think we always have to give the edge to the internal hire.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's only 2 names in Detroit that would make sense. Hank Fraley, Scotty Montgomery. Those are the only 2 that really make sense to me. I'm not so sure that happens.
It might have to happen.
Well, I don't think it will have to happen, not with this many names out there, but the David Shaw to Tampa Bay, I can't remember if that is OC or head coach. That was OC,
that was for
right?
OC. Yeah, that was for an OC position.
I don't see that happening. I don't know that he stays in Detroit either. We'll see. I don't know if he was attached at the hip with. I mean, he wasn't fired, so I don't think he's really attached at the hip with Johnny Morton. When I really look around, Jake Peets is the one to me that makes the most sense schematically and experience wise. He makes the most sense today. McDaniel would only make sense if he's not offered a head coaching position. But I'm not, and honestly, I don't even know that he really makes sense, period, because I don't think that Dan Campbell wants to restart next year.
Yeah. What did you think about Zach Robinson?
It's another intriguing option. I haven't done a total deep dive into him, but the fact that he was the passing game coordinator for the Rams?
He was quarterback coach for and then he went to passing game coordinator. but he worked with Goff for a couple seasons, so there's history there. And he came from the McVey tree, so the offense is going to be very similar that he ran. And he was in Atlanta. Look what he did with Bijan Robinson last year. Bijan had a pretty damn good season. So
I like the protection schemes that Atlanta runs. I do like that. The Rams passing game coordinator, quarterbacks coach, 22 to 23, and he's done phenomenal with Matthew Stafford. Even though Matthew Stafford can do it all on his own, you still need some good coaches around you. He was the assistant QB coach when they won the Super Bowl. And prior to that, he was the assistant wide receivers coach in LA. And prior to that, he was the assistant quarterbacks coach in 2019. So, I mean, he spent 4 or 5 seasons with LA. And anytime you spend that amount of time in an offensive room under Sean McVay, I think it makes a lot of sense to come to Detroit, because what you just said too, the scheme. The scheme is going to be so similar to what we've been doing, minus last year. And then you add in, again, to the Bijan Robinson point that you made, I like the protection scheme. So, yeah, I think it could be a good marriage. It really could. He comes in this Thursday, right? Or was that last Thursday?
Yeah, it was last Thursday. He's interviewed already.
And they let him leave the building. So that doesn't ever make me feel good unless he's not ready to make a decision.
But listen, I think the Detroit Lions are casting a very wide net. They're doing something they never did before. They're not just doing an internal hire for their offensive or defensive coordinator this time. They are taking their time. They're going slow, and they are interviewing everyone they can humanly possibly get in for this job. So now with Sean McDermott being fired, is his offensive coordinator going to be open to come do an interview for the Lions? You know, is their quarterback coach or their passing game coordinator, are they ready to make the jump to an OC job? So the Lions could have possibly even more people to put on for an interview for the OC job.
So that'd be Joe Brady that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Joe Brady is someone that I speak about many times in my articles about the offensive coordinators. I couldn't speak to Joe Brady a whole lot because he's been hired this whole time. Maybe Joe Brady is an internal option as the Bills' next head coach. We don't know. Maybe he's going to get an opportunity to interview. There's a real possibility there. That way you're not switching everything up in Buffalo. You same scheme. Coach has been there for a while. You pretty much run the same thing with a different vision. So I think he's probably going to be the first internal option to have a head coach interview in Buffalo. Now, Joe Brady coming to Detroit as the offensive coordinator, here's what I don't like. And I don't want to pigeonhole him. I'll do an article on him today. You know what? Let me just do my article. Let me do my research. Let me do my article on him, because I know what I'm going to say in my final take already. He thrives on having a mobile quarterback. And unless he can directly change everything that he's been doing, I don't see that working in Detroit. Is he going to be able to change? He's been doing nothing but mobile quarterback for how long?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that when you're in that mindset that you need a guy that can run the football as your quarterback, that it's really difficult to change. So he's been in Buffalo since 22. Quarterbacks coach, interim OC, and then OC. For 2 seasons, he's been at OC. He was interim OC in 23. So he's essentially been in the OC room for 3 seasons now. Before that, he was with the Panthers. Before that, he was with LSU. Before that, he's with the Saints. Then Penn State. Then William and Mary. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm with K Bizarre. Anyone but Dan Orlovsky or Arthur Smith.
Definitely not Arthur Smith.
I don't want either. And we interviewed him. I don't know why.
That is Johnny Moe number 2.
Yeah, no, thank you. I don't want a Steelers type offense. No, they've done nothing.
Robbie, I know you want me to open the lines. Honestly, I didn't have a chance to fix this, so let me just see what's going on with it. Hold on.
Yeah, so if fans thought that it was taking too long to hire an OC, you may have to wait another week or two, because this whole Bills firing of Sean McDermott throws a whole new monkey wrench into everything.
Yeah, it does and it doesn't. It does and it doesn't. I think for the Lions, it's going to be this week. I really do. I think that we're going to have some answers pretty quickly here. Like I when you said we had breaking news, I thought, like I said, that it was going to be today. I wasn't even going to be surprised if you were going to tell us that they just hired an OC.
No, that I would have texted you about and had you say it, but
yeah.
But this was just the head coach. Just very surprising, because if the play that we went over for a half hour with Cooks catching or not catching that catch, and whether it was an interception or not, if that goes the other way and the Bills get that catch, that the Bills win that game. That's it. They kick the field goal. It's game over. Done. Overtime.
Yeah, and all those guys are still hired.
Yeah. All of them still have jobs.
All of them are still hired. That's the NFL, man. It's crazy. It is mind-boggling. All the crap that goes on.
But you know what? In that game also, before that play even happened, there was such an egregious hold in the opposite end zone. It should have been a safety, and that should have been the end of the game. And then Bo Nix never gets injured.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah,
so
the game would have ended on a safety. And I got a thing. I think I sent it to you last night.
Did you email it?
Let's see.
There goes my audio already starting to dip down.
Yeah. So this is from Nick Foles. Note for the Broncos and their fans. I know it's been an emotional 24 hours. I feel for Bo Nix and the team, and sending prayers for a strong recovery. A positive note going into the game versus the Patriots is that they struggle against backup quarterbacks in championship type games. So Nick Foles beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl as a backup. So, hey,
yeah,
you guys can do it, Broncos.
When you so I remember that now. So when you did send that to me, why does my audio dip? That's not supposed to dip.
Yeah, every time with the phone thing.
Yeah, as soon as I turn the phone thing on, I bet you something got changed during this OBS update that I just haven't figured out yet. But anyway, when you said that to me, I was starting to think, oh my God, is Nick Foles? Is he somehow joining?
No, he's too far gone.
You know what I mean? Like, is he somehow is he coming back?
Coming back.
How crazy would that be if he came back and won another Super Bowl in the same?
Do it twice. Yeah, do it twice.
All right, Robbie, I'm just gonna turn it on. My volume's gonna be crap, so just we're just gonna have to deal with it. So, Robbie, if you want to call in, I think the phone lines are good. Just my audio's not going to be good. But speaking of Bo Nix, so while we're waiting to see if he calls,
yeah,
watch that play over and over and over, and as he's walking off the field, talking to reporters, even after the play, he jumps up. I don't see a grimace. I don't see anything. I don't see anything by Bo
he had a little hitch in his step.
Led me to believe that he was injured.
Yeah, not like that. No.
Right,
and during the final play, he's standing there bouncing up and down.
Yeah, Robbie, can you hear me?
Whoa.
All right, so yeah, what's up, man? How you doing today?
Can't hear you guys.
Uh-oh.
See,
can't hear us.
Hold on.
Whoa.
Hold on, buddy. If you can see the screen, hold on.
Hold on 1 second.
Hold on.
Oh.
Hold on, buddy. Hold on. Is he not looking at the screen when he calls in? I don't think he does.
No.
Hold on. All right, there you go. Now you should be good. My audio's way down. You should be good now, Raw. See, it's got to be on main stereo, but then my audio just goes crazy every time, and it's only when I have the other system on, the office, the studio. Robbie, go ahead, man. Call back in. Anyway, Bo Nix. I didn't see a broken bone, Eric.
Yeah, no, and I watched a bunch of I watched the play. When he walked, he jogged off the field.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But apparently he broke a bone and must have not been.
Yeah, Rock, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. I don't know what's going on. I'll test this and fix it today.
Oh, I can't hear him.
Yeah, so now
You're good on my end. I mean, your volume's not dipping.
No, I can't hear
on
you.
the call, anyways.
You can't hear me, Eric?
Oh, there. Now I can hear you.
And you can't hear Raw?
I don't hear him saying anything.
Eric, how you doing, buddy?
Well, hell, I'll tell you this. I'll jump out.
Okay.
I'll let you guys finish the show, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow, okay?
All right, buddy.
We'll keep going through our list.
All right, sounds fair. Take care. All right, give me 2 seconds, Raw. Let me make a couple of quick switches here. Let me get rid of this back screen, and then that should open up my volume. All right, what's on your mind today, man?
Oh, just there's a whole lot. I made some notes. I just can't seem to find where they are.
They're wherever you put them last.
The whole David Montgomery thing really got me going there when you were talking about that
Last week?
So, yeah, you remember
the
when you put
the
out
trade?
Yeah, I really think that's like, for me, our offense revolves around being able to do whatever we want on offense.
Yeah.
If we want to run the ball, we do that. If we want to pass the ball, we can do that. And that revolves around our offensive line, yes, but that also revolves around our running back. And too many times last season, we just couldn't get Jahmyr Gibbs going. Now, I made a statement that you didn't agree with. I said, Jahmyr Gibbs needs a hole, David Montgomery makes one. And you didn't agree with that. And that's fine, but this is where I make that statement. This is the foundation for that statement. Because although David Montgomery is not a power back per se, he is a twitchy power back, which means, yeah, he's 235, but he's not running the ball like Derrick Henry where he's running through a wall. David Montgomery will find the slightest little seam, the smallest hole in the offensive line, and he will burst through there, making it much larger for him to get through and move the ball forward. If we need 3 yards, David Montgomery is going to get us 3 yards. He's going to get us 4 yards. We've seen him do this many, many times. In Chicago, where they didn't have a good offensive line, where we poached him from, and when he came to Detroit, our O-line was already established, and he just ate. It was the first time he ran for 1,000 yards. He was always around 850 to 975 in Chicago. Came to Detroit, ran for over 1,000 yards while splitting carries. So David Montgomery is a very twitchy power back. He's going to run north and south, but he can get east and west and then go north and south with that incredible burst in power once he sticks his foot in the ground and then decides he's going forward, not backwards. Whereas Jahmyr Gibbs isn't that running back. He's going backwards.
I don't know
Or
about.
he's
I
falling
don't know
side to
about.
side.
Yeah, I don't know about going backwards. You can still hear me, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know about going backwards. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is definitely going forward, but I will say this. I think I prefaced all of that by saying that, number one, I don't want to see a player like David Montgomery having to leave. However, and number two, that I respect the heck out of him, and I do think that he's needed in Detroit. I prefaced all that in the video. The video is this simple. If he's not happy and he wants to be on another team, and Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have both said as much in their exit interviews for the season, really, with the fans, or their exit press conferences, that one issue with David Montgomery is he wasn't utilized enough. It wasn't by design or by plan. It just happened to be that way. And then when you look at the numbers, though, the numbers are pretty much the same. If anything, I think David Montgomery's usage went up, I think 10% year over year versus what it was last year, but his carries were way down. So there was a difference in carries. His carries dropped by like 40 or 50 carries on the season this year. But Brad said, look, if you're not happy, we're going to find a new place for you. We want to do what's right by David because they love and appreciate David so much. They don't want to just bury him on the depth chart and leave him there because they don't want to give him up to anybody else. They're voicing the frustration for David Montgomery and saying, if we can't utilize you the way that we guaranteed we'd utilize you, or you want to be utilized, then we will effectively find a new place for you. That is the whole reason why I did the video, is that if Brad is thinking that he's going to have to trade Monty, not so much because of cap space, because, well, we're not going to use the player. We're not going to pay $8 million for a player we're not going to use as much, and we need some cap space relief, and we want to do right by the player. Well, then that is a trade that makes a lot of sense for the Lions. Now, for the Jags, on the other hand, it only makes sense when they don't want to give up $25 million to their new safety, who's going to be the top paid safety in the league here in 2026. He's going to demand a huge contract. So if the Jags can't or won't afford to pay that, because they're already minus $15 million to start the year. So if they can't do it and they have to get rid of the player, now's the time. And so I'm looking at it from eyes wide open. Okay, you can trade David Montgomery. Eddie N is a free agent, so they're going to let him test free agency from what I've heard. And if that's the case, your backup's Tootin is not rootin' Tootin. He's not going to get you a whole bunch of yards. He's not a number one running back, but David Montgomery can be. And so that's where that trade made perfect sense to me. It could require, a second and a third, or second and a fourth versus a, whatever I proposed in that trade. It could require more draft capital, but on the surface of it, that's the only reason why I see David Montgomery going somewhere. And where do you find a good landing spot that would help both teams?
I agree with the aspect. The only way you trade David Montgomery if he wants out.
Yeah, if you have to, you just don't keep a player just because.
I think we can definitely use him. I mean, the whole premises of our grit offense was built on him. And if we're going to be as aggressive as we are on defense or on offense, going forward on fourth down, setting up fourth and short situations for us to go for it, then he 100% needs to be part of the equation, because defenses have to respect the fact that man's going to run through somebody to get forward progress.
1,000%.
Stack the box.
So let's move.
Will open up the outside for other options, whether it's Jahmyr Gibbs leaking out into the flat if we're doing a two-back system, J-Mo running a little hitch route, or St. Brown on a slant.
I get it. Look, there's
my thought on that.
Yeah, there's uses for him. Look, Ra, I think that if we have the right offensive coordinator, you're gonna see that nice ebb and flow that we had in 2024. I think there was some issues with it still, though. I think that they were still misusing both Gibbs and Monty from different situations. You can't just go all in with Monty and then all in with Gibbs and all in with Monty and then all in with Gibbs. They need to be able
100%.
Yeah, you need to be able to
It
mix
needs
it
to
up.
It needs to be a 55-45 split.
Well,
That's
I don't care
what
about
it needs to be.
I don't care about the split so much as I care about not showing your hand. And the Lions are becoming too predictable. We knew every time David Montgomery was coming in, handing it off to David, he's going to go right between the tackles somewhere, and he's going to push for 1 or 2 or 3 yards to get that first down. It was too predictable. That's what I keep saying about Ben Johnson right now. It is predictability. It's going to show itself by year 2, and by year 3, it's going to be capped. I think that the NFL is going to figure out that Ben Johnson has all these great plays, cute plays, and then once they're all used up and you figure out his methodology and you figure out how he's using players when they're using them, that's when you're able to shut them down. And that's what happened to us towards the end of 2024. But let's move into the offensive coordinator conversation or some other things that we talked about today. How do you feel like the game went down, or the weekend's games went down? Anything you want to add to either of those catches or the upcoming offensive coordinator potential with Joe Brady?
Well,
is there anybody you like there?
I do have a few prospects I do like. I like the Rams QB coach over there.
Yeah.
I think that's a unique prospect that we could definitely investigate quite a bit. I don't know what Sean McVey was doing there at the end of the game. That was, I don't know if you read my comments on Blue Zone, but that was a real head scratcher. I mean, you take the ball out of your MVP candidate's hands and you put it in the hands of your running back, and you end up punting. Punt. You got a touchdown lead, and you just want to punt the ball away. I don't understand the methodology there.
Well, you know what? To expand on that, hold on. To expand on that, I'm barely in Blue Zone. I wish I was more. I wish I had more time, but it's really for everybody else. But if you remember my comments in there, I'm like, what in the hell were the Rams thinking yesterday when if you're okay kicking a field goal from the 25-yard line or wherever they were, why were you trying to pass the ball twice and give the ball back to one of the teams that is picking the ball off? What were you thinking? Just run it, run it, kick it. What were they thinking?
He was running when they should have passed, and they were passing when they should have ran. I don't understand the whole ideology there.
I don't get it, man. But they almost
Sean
gave the game
McVay
back.
is very quickly becoming one of the more disliked head coaches in the league. Like, everyone calls him an offensive genius, and I've watched a few games, and I'm just like, I don't see it. Like, I see Stafford doing what Stafford thinks.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's very few quarterbacks who can operate his system, and it's not because the lack of ability to operate his system. I think it's more he needs a super highly talented and decisive quarterback with a very high IQ in order to pull off the hot reads and go somewhere else with the ball, because I think the Bears exposed his passing game. Too many times Stafford had to he basically had to go away from his hot read. He had to put the ball in the air and let his guys go make a play. And that's not by design. That's just doing what Stafford does best.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree there. So you were talking, you said that you'd be interested in the Rams passing game,
QB coach,
the QB coach, or the. I mean, I like Zach Robinson, the former Rams QB coach and offensive coordinator. I do like that. I mean, I think it's an intriguing option for the Lions. So there's Zach Robinson. Any thoughts on Zach Robinson?
I don't know too much about that situation, so I don't want to say anything out of pocket. You know what I mean? I like to know what I talk about.
I got you. So then let's kick it back over.
I like the idea of Brian Daboll. The only thing I don't like is how long is he going to give us before he returns to the head coaching atmosphere?
I think it's the same thing with Mike McDaniel and everybody else. Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
you're taking a huge risk in having to start over. But you were talking about Nate Scheelhaase, or I think it's how you pronounce his last name, Scheelhaase, who is the passing game coordinator. Extremely young dude. He's in his second season with the Rams. He is the pass game coordinator. Spent 2024 as offensive assistant and pass game specialist. This would be a huge opportunity for somebody like this. He could be the up and coming Ben Johnson, Sean McVay, type mentality here. Nate Scheelhaase. Any thoughts, impressions, ideas on him?
I think some of the things he's been able to do with Stafford is very intriguing. Like Stafford is a talent in his own, but I think he's been able to curve some of those NITs he's been known to throw throughout the season and continue to grow as a quarterback. Stafford's one of the easier quarterbacks to get along with because he listens to everybody. And he doesn't just do what he wants to do. And that's one of the highlights for Stafford, as far as he doesn't have that chip on his shoulder to where I don't need to listen to you. I'm a do what I do. You know what I mean? Like he will absorb, and then he'll put the material out there and do his body of work. The turnovers he's done, or the decline in his turnovers, the decline in some of those throws that he's been given a lot of dirty looks for throwing, or dirty comments for throwing, he's kind of minimized them. He's gotten really good at throwing the ball on the outside over the back shoulder, kind of like vintage Aaron Rodgers. So instead of putting the ball in the middle of the field, he's leaning more to the outside safer throw, to where either his guy makes a catch or nobody does.
So you're talking about Stafford, and I guess where I'm trying to go with this is Nate Scheelhaase. And when I look at a passing game coordinator and what their job or primary role is in the NFL, and when we look at the Rams offense and what they've been able to do, especially with players like Puka Nacua, who have taken the league by storm, the role or responsibility of the passing game coordinator is essentially a specialized offensive coordinator who focuses entirely on the aerial attack. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, the name, their job description is in the name of their job, right? So what Nate is doing for the Rams is developing a complex passing attack, through volume of passing, schemes. And he's not managing the entire game plan, but what he is doing is developing his own game plan by taking a look at the defense and what the defense presents. How can, our receivers do X, Y, and Z? Where can we find, some holes in the defense? And then they bring all of that to their offensive meetings where everybody's in the room and they all talk about it. The run game coordinator, the pass game coordinator, right? The offensive coordinator, and they kind of give them their micro game plan that then the offensive coordinator creates the entire game plan from. And so when I look at the core responsibility, again, of what a passing game coordinator does is during the week, they're going to design the specific passing concepts to beat that week's opponent. Situationally, I think that they're responsible for third down and red zone passing packages more often than anybody else. And then simply it's just leadership, being a leader in the room. Scheelhaase is a very young individual, doesn't have a ton of time in the league, and he's working with some of the most elite football players in the league now for three seasons now, I believe. So game day, he's either up in the booth. Typically, those are the guys that are up in the booth seeing, trying to find the advantages on the field. And so this is where I'm going to hand it to you, is when you look at what Puka Nacua has been able to do, and Devontae Adams coming into the system this year, how do you see Nate Scheelhaase potentially being a good option as an offensive coordinator with what he's been able to develop for the Rams? How can that fit in Detroit with the weapons that we have? Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and the likes of Isaac Tesla.
Well, the aerial game is definitely set up to attack the levels. different depths on the field. If you notice, Puka Nacua, he will run 2 short and then 1 deep and then 2 medium. Like, he's always keeping the defense guessing on who's running what type of level concept on the field. He's mixing that up quite well. He's introduced this screen game. Like, the Rams are a very, very good screen game team. And that's not just to the players on the field, but also you got to give credit to the design of the screen as well as the time that they're being called. So he attacks the levels very, very well. And I'm talking about Stafford a lot, but if you're talking about an aerial game coordinator, you can't talk about one without the quarterback throwing the ball. So I am going to go back to Stafford and his ability to put the ball in those tough spots and target those specific areas. But that's all by design because the other guys are so distracting in what they're doing so efficiently that they're leaving those one-on-ones on the corner and on the outside for those guys to make those plays, for Stafford to make those throws. So I would say it's definitely the levels concept that he's really good at exploiting on the defense. And I think Detroit kind of set up perfectly for him to continue doing what he was doing in the Rams or over there in LA, here in Detroit, is exposing the levels.
I think that, I hear what you're saying there. And I'm trying to take into consideration here a little bit of what Nate Scheelhaase has had to deal with in LA, which I think he was kind of put into a perfect situation. I mean, veteran quarterback in Matthew Stafford, obviously he knows what he's doing. Puka Nacua, I don't think that Puka Nacua becomes who he is without the likes of a Matthew Stafford throwing him the football or a creative offensive coordinator realizing that, hey, this guy got it. I mean, he's got that it factor. We just have to find ways, unique ways to allow him to go produce. And I think that when you look at the Rams' offensive output, Matthew Stafford or not, I think that Scheelhaase has had a pretty bold and big vision for how this Rams aerial attack was going to work. There's some things that aren't perfect. I mean, he's the architect of what the NFL's number one offense this season. I think the Rams aren't they the number one offense this year?
I believe they are.
Or they're very close. Either way, Matthew Stafford, possibly the best quarterback in the league this year. But if the Lions really want to reclaim what we were doing the last couple of seasons before Johnny Morton came in and put turd nuggets all over the place, I don't think that we need a retread of what anybody else has been able to do. I think we need an innovator. I think we need a visionary. We need someone that is looking at the game from a different lens. Maybe always plucking from the Shanahan tree, the McVey tree, the Brady tree, the Reed tree, this tree, this pear tree, apple tree. None of that crap really matters anymore. We need someone that wants to create their own damn tree, that has the vision to allow this offense to be explosive and do the things that it was doing. I mean, you're looking at a young 35-year-old Nate Scheelhaase that could come into Detroit, reformulate the plan, spit it back out, and just start dominating in 2026. They have the players. They have a quarterback that stays healthy. They have a quarterback that is able to deliver the football anywhere on the field. I get sick of the old argument that Jared Goff doesn't have the right arm. I think he's proven, for 5 seasons now that he is and that he can be, one of the best in the league. And he's not getting any younger. Yeah, at some point here soon, they're going to have to find a new quarterback, but it's not 2026. I think that he's got proven success right now at managing these alpha receivers. Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua. I think it provides a real strong argument that what he's been able to accomplish in LA could be replicatable in Detroit or anywhere else, given a similar situation in style of receivers, quarterback play, schematically. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs, who's a weapon all over the field. Puka Nacua led the NFL in receptions. Was it last year? or was it last year? 129 or something like that, 1,700 plus yards. Just crazy. Matthew Stafford, what did he have this year? 46 and 4,700 touchdowns to yards.
I think with the roster that Detroit has, if you size it up against the roster that the Rams have, I mean, Detroit has the better overall offensive weapons on the field.
Sure.
I mean, you could go Puka Nacua, you got St. Brown. You go Kyron Williams. Sorry, his first name escaped me for a second. Kyron Williams. You got David Montgomery. You got they don't have a Jahmyr Gibbs over there.
No.
You got Kobe Parkinson. You got Tyler Higbee. You got Sam Laporta. You got Shane Zylstra. You got Brock Wright. Like, those are very comparable pieces if you're looking at the overall body of work.
I do think their tight end, their tight end game is elite over there. I think what they're getting out of Kobe Parkinson and Higbee is just crazy. Parkinson, God, he's incredible.
Don't forget about the rookie Terrence Ferguson. Like, that guy's going to be a monster next year if Stafford stays on the field throwing the ball.
Well, he's
6'7".
I'm gonna circle this on my sheet. We're gonna come back to the tight end game here in a minute, but finish your thought. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's a big target over there. Let him gel with Matthew Stafford for a season, his rookie year. Next year, that dude's going to be a monster. He's going to be freaking elite at tight end because Stafford is going to use his frame and his size against the defense. You can't put a 6'3" linebacker on him. He's 6'7". You can't put a 6'2" safety on him. He's 6'7". Stafford's going to put the ball only where that man can catch it, and either the guy's got the hands to bring it in or he doesn't. But no defensive player is going to outreach him for a ball.
Here's since we stuck, I guess, with tight ends here, here's what I'm going to say. We just watched the Rams win last night utilizing jumbo formation almost all freaking night. 3 tight ends on the field often. I don't even know when's the last time that's really been done a whole lot. I was begging for the
Johnson did it too.
Yeah, well, that's
Ben
what I was.
Johnson was doing that too.
Begging the Lions.
Were throwing levels.
Yeah,
they were throwing levels. Both teams were hitting the levels with those tight ends, short, medium, and deep with them.
Well, that's what I was begging the Lions to do this last year. Nick was simply getting our tight ends back in the game. And allowing, jumbo formations to be a regular set for the Lions because we didn't have the offensive line. The offensive line was atrocious this year for a majority of the season when we were trying to run the ball. Had you brought in jumbo formations more often, had you brought in, 6 and 7 man protections more often, I think the run game would have been a lot better. I think that David Montgomery would have been a lot happier. And things would have moved down the field. But there's something that really sticks out for me. Speaking about this Nate Scheelhaase as a potential candidate for the Lions. And it's what Puka Nacua said about him. I don't remember when. But he said he's a world-class communicator. And to me, like that fixes it for me. Communication was a huge problem for the Lions this year. And if your next offensive coordinator can be a world-class communicator, that settles a lot of things for these guys that, won't have as many issues on figuring out where the hell do I need to be? Where am I supposed to line up? What's the play? What are we doing? No, you got a guy that can communicate it and hopefully has the tenacity or tenacious ability to drill, into these guys perfection. We're not going to stop doing something until we perfect it. We're not going to run something half-ass and move on to the next play. Perfect it. Run it 10 times, and then we'll move on. If we don't get to the next play in practice, we don't get to the next play. But we have to perfect this one. And I feel like that was lost this year. Because there's no way that you can tell me they were perfecting everything that they were doing in camp, and then they go into the game, and it's constant penalties for illegal formation. They didn't perfect a damn thing. So I need to see a world-class communicator come back into Detroit, which I think Ben Johnson is known for being a great communicator as well. I just
think
got.
a lot of that falls on the OC there.
Yeah, it
Johnny
does.
Morton.
Yeah, it
And
does.
what we had versus what he was able to get out of in his system.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of situations to where just the players weren't vibing his concepts and what he wanted to do, and he didn't adapt to that at all. So I think our next OC, whether it be Shaw, whether it be Scotty Montgomery, whether it be David Dable, whether it be Scheelhaase, I think first and foremost, you have to be able to gel with the coaches on staff, and you have to be able to gel with the players on the field.
1,000%.
At the end of the day, if you don't have that continuity, no matter what kind of offensive mind you bring in, it could be Andy Reid, who's been known as a player's coach. If you don't have that on the field, you're not getting the most out of your offense because the guys aren't in it to win it. They're just going through the motions. And the NFL's at a professional level. You need more than just going through the motions. You need to be in it to win it.
I agree, buddy. Well, hey, I got to run, man. It's lunchtime for me. I got to get some food.
I appreciate you letting me call in today.
Yeah, anytime, man. Anytime. I know we're going to try to get through a lot of workups this week on free agency, and I've got some things I got to get rolling with on this new house build. So busy. But yeah, let's continue the conversation throughout the week, man. Appreciate you calling in. You have a good day, okay?
Rock on, Detroit Lions.
All right, brother.
Stay safe out there. It's cold.
Yeah, it's cold. Take care, man. We'll see you. The infamous Raw B1s. Okay, so Nate Scheelhaase, he's growing on me a little bit. Not saying he's the full answer just yet. But how intriguing would it be just for grins, right? My volume's about to go up, so hold on. Just for grins on this whole offensive coordinator thing. Let's just say that the Lions were able to snake McDaniel. And you know that that's probably a 1-year gig. Would it be more intriguing to Nate Scheelhaase to say, hey, listen, dude, we're going to bring in McDaniel. So you're going to have the ability to work with him and his genius mind. You've already worked with McVey. You've had great success. But now you're probably going to be our next OC when McDaniel leaves next year. That's your trajectory. We like to get you in the system, guarantee you that when he leaves, you're it, as long as you prove to us you're it, right? I think that job makes more sense for somebody like him to then leave LA, who you know is going to have a quarterback change here pretty soon, and then all bets are off on whether or not you're going to be the OC and or whether or not the offense is even going to stay the same. You know, your offensive coordinator might switch everything up. You've got to relearn everything again. You've got to redraw everything again, which he can do if he's a professional, right? Which he is. But I think that it's a wild thought. You bring in Scheelhaase to be, if McDaniel comes, to be the number 2 guy with the immediate elevation when McDaniel leaves. That's how I'm selling the guy. As the ultimate salesman in the room, that's what I'm doing. And you got to pay the guy to do it significantly. You know, a lot of these guys are making $250,000, $500,000, $750,000. You might have to just grin, bear it, and double it to get him to come if money is a big reason. Motivate him by money if you need him in the door. You don't really want anyone to ever be motivated by money, but you get what I'm saying. I like that idea. If you could snake those two, you could snake the Rams' best passing passing game coordinator in the league, probably right now, one of the hottest names at least, Nate Scheelhaase. And then you have Mike McDaniel, which is the hottest name, period, for OC position, no matter where he lands. But I still like Jake Peets too. If you can't do any of that, I think Jake Peets makes the most sense from a schematic thing. And then Zach Robinson also makes a lot of sense. I think those are the names that I'm staring at the most right now. And I'll have some more later on today. I plan to get out 4 or 5 articles today, 4 or 5 videos today. It's going to be a busy day here while we're freezing. As long as the heat stays on, we'll be back to work here in a little bit. You guys have a great rest of your Monday. Look, the luck finally ran out for Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. F the Bears. I'm glad that I can have a little bit of cheese with my wine over Ben Johnson today. I can't stand that dude. I think that he is a stain right now in the NFL. His antics last week. And Sean McVay gets the last laugh. You know, you had, was it McVay's, I'm sorry, McFleur's brother, I think, or younger brother is on McVay's staff or something like that. And those two are good friends, LaFleur and McVay. And McVay decided to follow up and take care of Ben Johnson, which I'm glad. I'm glad that happened. Enjoy the holiday today. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, all day. And we'll be back later on this evening. I'm going to get a night show in tonight. That is the plan as of right now. We'll see how it goes, but I want to get in some mock drafts if I can make it work. These are just going to be play mock drafts. We'll just have some fun with it. But that's the plan, to try to get back on tonight and talk some free agency stuff. And NFL draft, man, it's going to be here before you know it. All right, go One Pride, go Detroit Lions. Don't forget to sign up on DetroitFootballJournal.com. You'll get your free 6-month membership just for putting in your email. You do not need to put in a credit card or anything. Just put in your email, sign up, get your free membership. DetroitFootballJournal.com. It's flashing across the screen all day today here, so make sure you get it. And then I will upgrade everybody today. I forgot to do it yesterday. I will get it done today. Add it to my list right now. That's it. You guys have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys later on. Take care. Adios.
Pressured by Hutchinson. He goes down.